All right, so I'm going to open the meeting for March 24th, Wakefield Conservation Commission. First up is roll call. Teresa,
Here, sorry.
okay, Jim,
Can I email them?
Yeah.
All right. Sure.
Jim, you're muted.
This picture to email.
Okay, you wanna open up the email first?
Silvana,
Yes, here.
okay. I know Frank cannot make it, he's still at work. Ken, I also know cannot make it. And Peter has not joined us yet. All right, we do have a quorum, so we will get going. First item is the approval of the minutes from February 24th. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a
Those
motion.
minutes? Is there a
I'll make a
second?
motion.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? If not, all in favor, Jim?
Jim, you need to unmute yourself.
Accept.
See if you wanna set 3 at a time.
So, trying to get a flip which 3 they are.
Jimmy is still muted. Okay, Teresa,
Yes.
Silvana,
Hi, yes. I'm speaking to Jim. He's trying to mute himself, so he is here.
yeah, I can see him.
Okay. No, we still don't hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but you're coming through your computer and your phone or something. There's a lot of feedback.
Okay, wait a minute. How about
That's
now?
better. That's better.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, so we're voting in the minutes. How do you vote?
Okay.
I also vote yes. All right, first up, we do not have a file number. It's Stark Ave. We have P&G Utilities, public hearing notice of intent for the construction of a roadway, associated stormwater management within 0 feet to a BVW. Is the applicant here?
Yes, good evening. Thorson Akerley from Williams and Sparages, and along with me is Peter Blaisdell, the professional engineer who helped design the project. Tonight, we're representing P&G Utilities and Site LLC. They are the property, or rather the applicant. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, please do.
So what I'll do is I'll start and just introduce everyone to the project briefly. Go over the resource areas present here at the project site, talk about the existing conditions a little bit, and then hand it off to Peter to talk about the engineering and anything else. So again, we filed a notice of intent on behalf of the applicants here for the construction of a roadway and construction of the associated stormwater management features. Although you see here, we have shown the house boxes. These are just to give the commission an idea of what's to come potentially later. This notice of intent filing is only for the roadway that you see here and the associated stormwater management, which Peter will talk about shortly. So we'll start this portion of the site down here. An intermittent stream channel flows. I believe this is east to west, or I'm sorry, south to north. Down from this area up here is much higher. So we have a very clear stream channel, which has a A BVW shown here is the A series that travels underneath Stark Ave from this point here, culvert. This lighter green line is the location of the underground pipe. That pipe outlets on the other side of Stark Ave in front of the existing house at number 59 Stark Ave, and flows further down gradient where we have a stream channel that connects way out here and heads almost due north from this point out in that direction. So we do have BVW on this side of Stark Avenue as well. So B1 through B8 down here. That series then continues along the back of the property over towards another street over here. The name is escaping me, but there is a culvert here which sends drainage from the roadway to this area. And generally we have a pretty wet area in here that flows down towards the low point back in here. The 25-foot buffer zone is shown here in orange, and the 100-foot buffer zone is shown right here, this line here. So aside from the single-family homes you see here, the main portion of this project is the construction of this roadway. We've had discussions with Rebecca off and on, and Elaine, who we met on site today to review the wetland flags. Efforts were made to shift this portion of the roadway further from the existing layout of Stark Avenue, which you see in a faint line, a little difficult to see, but this line here and this line here is the original layout of Stark Avenue. So with the intent to keep everything outside of the 25-foot buffer where possible, as well as the dwellings outside of the 50 feet from the intermittent stream channel. We haven't shown the intermittent stream channel on here, which I apologize for. We do plan to add that when we come back with notice of intents for the single family dwellings. We know the commission likes to see, or rather the zoning bylaw requires that structures be located 50 feet from stream channels or any intermittent stream or river. So that's where that stands. And otherwise, these resource areas have been reviewed by Elaine. The only key change that happened was this flag C8 was moved to approximately in here, which won't change the buffer zone very much in here. This should be very similar. And flag C2 was shifted about 5 or 6 feet in this direction along this 102 contour here. Aside from that, the existing conditions are generally a wooded area. We have within this existing Stark Avenue layout, scattered trees with more trees on the lower side of the Stark Avenue layout. You can see or rather it's difficult to see, but there is an installed sewer line that goes through Stark Ave as it's currently shown on record plans. You can tell that there's been work done in the area. We have observed fill piles and some alterations to areas within the buffer zone here. But the majority of the remaining portions of the site, especially to the south of Stark Avenue up in here, are largely wooded on the outer portions of the buffer zone. So with that, I'll let Peter take it away and talk about the engineering aspects of the project.
You want to just unshare, Thor, and I'll put mine up. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Okay, if I share my screen?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Okay, everybody see that all right?
Got it.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, Peter Blaisdell from Williams and Sparagus, project surveyor and engineer. Just as a little background, you will be getting some more information, I would think, from Erin Kokinda and the planning board, just to kind of bring you up to speed. We've been before the planning board for this since, I believe, September 14th. I believe this is the third revision of the plan. We've been going back and forth with the planning board, and we've had some revisions, and we've submitted calculations and a stormwater report to the DPW, and we've been kind of working through the process since then. So we are in a position now where I think we're nearing the end of planning board and what we're going to do with the DPW. So we didn't want to waste any of the commission's time while we were going back and forth with the DPW. So once we got to a position where we thought we were in a good point, we filed a notice of intent. So just to give you a little overview. So Stark Avenue is an existing public street. It's approximately 1,400 feet long. It's built to a certain point. I'll give you that in a minute. And then from there, it's unbuilt and it's a paper street. But just to give you an idea of where you're sitting here, you've got Molly Circle here to the north, Everett Street to the northeast. Stark Avenue is unbuilt here. Goldie Street is unbuilt, and then Aberdeen Road is unbuilt. I'm just going to flip to the next one. Second. So as I mentioned before, Stark Avenue is a public way up into right in front of house number 58. From here, there's a driveway that serves a single family home at number 59. And then Stark Avenue originally was laid out to an angle point here and then straight across Stark Ave and then to the Goldie Street intersection. The reason that you see this configuration before you is that in some of the earlier conceptuals that we had, we weren't able to keep most of the grading and drainage outside of the 25-foot buffer. We talked about it and we tried to make our best effort with the applicant to keep everything outside the 25-foot buffer zone. So as Thor had mentioned, it's a proposed 3 dwelling lots. This lot over here is under agreement and may be used. We're not certain exactly what for, but the applicant currently does have it under agreement. This is just before the planning board. This is the list of waivers that goes along with the plan, which I can get into a little bit more. Profile, again, we're here tonight just for just really for the roadway. So the roadway profiles have been submitted to the DPW. They had some comments. We've asked for some waivers for a standard cross section and for the normal profile that would be with the Wakefield subdivision rules and regulations. And they're going to be supporting those waivers that we're still working out with them when we go back April 12th. This is just a slide showing the existing condition right now. So as part of the rules and regulations, we were asked to locate all trees that are, I believe, either 6 inches or 8 inches greater in caliper and show them on the lots. We had before just stopped locating the trees right around the 25-foot zone. But before we filed a notice of intent, the chairman, Mr. Lowry from the planning board, just asked us to reach out and see if you might want to have us locate the remainder of the trees that were along the edge of bordering vegetated wetlands. And she did indicate that she would like us to do that. So that's essentially what you're seeing here. As Thor already mentioned to you, the wetland resource area, so I won't go into that. Let's go next slide. Okay. This is just a site construction plan. So this is just kind of a stripped down version of what we're planning to do. So currently there's a paved turnaround on Mr. Howe's property. I believe this was the result of a taking by the town of Wakefield in 1958. So this was originally supposed to be just a temporary turnaround on Mr. Howe's land. So part of the development project for this would be to remove these areas of pavement and resurface his driveway. And in the process also from the start of where this becomes a paper street, we're going to resurface the road back to where the new curb line would be put in. Along the way, there are a couple driveways over to the house at number 59. And as you can see, the road sort of takes a dip to the south. And the reason for that is to pull everything away from the wetlands to the best of our ability. The grading plan, similar to what Thor had mentioned to you before, we have to start at a certain elevation so that we mention here at number 58. And we have to give the homeowner at number 59 access to his driveway. So we're matching those grades, which is why on the profile, we have to have a little bit of an area that flattens out. And then as you can see, we put a low point here, right around this area where the road starts to alter from its original course. And then it'll start to rise again up to the end of the road. This is a smaller turnaround that we were asked to provide by the planning board and have that looked at through the safety officer at the Wakefield Planning Board, excuse me, at the Wakefield Fire Department. But the unusual feature of this subdivision, as you were, is that this doesn't follow the normal cross-section and building process that you would see for a subdivision in Wakefield. In other words, we don't have any curbing here. We don't have any deep sump catch basins, drain manholes, things that you would normally associate with a catch basin, excuse me, with a subdivision in Wakefield. So this project employs low impact development techniques, in that everything that you see in the roadway is designed to sheet to the sides of the road. And on the south side, what you have is a vegetated swale that sits on top of a stone swale. On the north side, the planning board asked that we at least put sidewalk on one side to join in with the sidewalk on Stark Ave. So on the north side, it's a little bit different. We have a 3-foot wide trench, and then you go to the sidewalk. So essentially, all the runoff from the road discharges to the side of the road, and then is either infiltrated here, right in the bottom of the trench, or it discharges over to a riprap apron, and then flows overland towards the existing drainage culvert that's here on the south side, and then flows underneath Stark Ave now to the north side. If there's an overflow from either one of these trenches on either side, there's an additional overflow pond on this side. As mentioned, we're really just here for the road and the street drainage tonight, but each one of these houses that are shown has its own roof recharge area to kind of remove some of that runoff from the street. And the driveways themselves pitch to a series of cascading ponds with a spillway outlet from here down to this pond. And ultimately, this is another area for groundwater to exfiltrate. So as I mentioned, we've had I think 5 or 6 public hearings with the planning board. We've had one meeting with the DPW. We've submitted a couple different stormwater reports to DPW, which is also included in notice of intent. We had our public hearing the other night. They've asked for some more revisions and a few more calculations just to present on the next plan, which is what we're working towards. But beyond that, I'll just give you a little idea of what the erosion and sedimentation control plan is for the project. What we'd like to do is just maintain silt sacks in the catch basins to keep anything from entering the system. A tracking pad here for construction vehicles to enter and remove any debris or settlement from the tires before they start heading down Stark Ave. As Thor mentioned, we're trying to keep silt fence mulch sock all around the 25-foot buffer zone, also around the bottom of the retaining wall that will be holding back up the road, also around up and over to retaining walls that will be built up on the lots. Same here, we'll be basically building a wall just right along the edge of the layout with erosion control here and tying that back up into the walls. Temporary straw or hay bales will be kept on site in case we need them, and also if there's any type of dewatering, we've added provision for that. Just to give you an idea of what the road looks like in a cross section, I'll just kind of zoom up on this a little bit for you. So as you know, in a typical 40-foot wide layout in Wakefield, you'll have 26 feet of pavement, curbing on both sides, deep sump catch basins, that type of thing. With this low impact development type of a course of action, everything sheds off to the side. Is either captured and infiltrated here or captured and infiltrated here. And as mentioned before, anything that needs to go above and beyond that will then discharge to one side or the other into an exfiltration pond. Sorry about that. We're still working out a couple of the details with the DPW as mentioned, but for the most part, they understand what we're trying to do. There's been, my understanding is 2 or 3 low impact development projects approved in Wakefield over the last few years. So there are not a lot of them. So we're trying to just let the planning board know that that's what we're trying to do. And again, the reason for this low impact development type techniques is we're trying to reduce the amount of pavement and runoff and basically try to spread all of the runoff around the site as much as possible instead of collecting everything into one specific area and then exfiltrating it there. Let's see, I got one more sheet to go over. As mentioned, the roofs will have Caltech heavy duty chambers that will be put in topographical feasible areas. So those will then take all the roof and just keep that separate from the road. Nice part about that is you don't have to worry about TSS removal, that type of thing. It's considered clean by DEP. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions the commission may have, and that's all I have just for my initial presentation. As I said, there's a lot of information here that you're going to hear about, and like I said, the planning board would like to talk to you as well, and we'll share all that information with both boards.
Okay, thank you. Elaine,
Yes,
do we have the abutter notifications?
yeah, I think I got something in the email today. We got slips back.
Okay. And who went out today? Was it Rebecca and you, Elaine, or?
Just me.
Okay. Any comments to add from what was just presented to us?
No, I went there today. I certainly wouldn't make the flags any higher. And there were 2 changes in the field, which you mentioned around flags B6 and C2. And those will be changed. And that's all I have. The rest of it, we took soil samples, looked at vegetation and topography, and the rest of the flags look fine.
Okay, thank you.
Peter, is there curbing on this setup, this low impact?
Is that you, Mr. Luciani?
Yes, it is, Peter.
Okay, is the curbing. The only place that there's curbing, Jim, is we're going to replace some curbing at the top of Stark Ave, where we're going to be removing. Here, I'll share again if it's okay with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so right here, we're going to be replacing bituminous berm and just make that
Mhm.
basically end right here at the end of the public road where it becomes. But after that, Jim, it's just pavement,
Okay.
country drainage.
So how do you maintain these areas on the side of the road? I mean, what's the,
So that
Okay.
it's got a very aggressive operation and maintenance plan. That's one of the things that both Bill Renault and Tim Wilson have been, and a lot of the planning board members have been the most concerned about, is how we're going to be able to maintain this. So there's going to be a homeowners association set up with this. There's going to be a operation and maintenance plan and inspection requirement that everything needs to be looked at annually and reports submitted to the town for review. it'll start off with about $6,000 in a fund put in by the applicant. And then as each lot is sold, the new homeowner will replace that $2,000 in their account. The applicant will be reimbursed. And that money is essentially to, again, follow the operation and maintenance plan for these structures and make sure that everything's working. And if anything seems to be out of whack, something gets damaged by a plow or something gets clogged, then it needs to be taken care of immediately. And that's what that money is for.
And is there an obligation on the homeowners to put more in after the initial 2,000?
So the number that we've been looking at is that $6,000 needs to remain in perpetuity. So if they have a year where they hire a contractor to come out and inspect everything and everything looks fine and they only spend a small amount of money, then each homeowner just puts in that amount. If there's a year where they have more maintenance and they have to have more expenditure and that money gets depleted, then each homeowner will have to kick in to bring that level back up to that same $6,000 to stay.
What about inflation? How do
Is
you
that
account for?
no cost of living adjustment? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you?
You're talking a little above my pay grade. I haven't figured any type of inflation into that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's something that could be built in or talked about. We're not done with the homeowners association write up yet, but we can certainly put that in as a.
Peter, you said there was a couple of subdivisions that were using this system.
So
how long ago? were they
not
done?
exactly the system, but using low impact development, which is no catch basins and no sediment forebays and that type of thing.
I guess I'm just curious as to how long they've been in effect and how are they working out?
I'm not sure. I received some information from Erin Kokinda.
Yeah.
So there's been one or two projects that the town has done itself using low impact development. And I know there was one 3-lot subdivision. I don't remember the name. It was done by another engineer that again, it used low impact development techniques. And my understanding is it's working fine. To date, I've done about 4 of these from Rowley, Georgetown, Middleton, and they've been working fine.
Okay. I think, would I check with Bill? Would he be able to tell me the locations of these ones we could look at?
I don't know if they've been constructed yet. Jim, hold on one second. Probably could tell you which ones they are.
Where are the ones that you did?
Once I actually sent Erin some examples, I believe. Done one in Rowley, one in Georgetown. We
Okay.
just did one in West Newbury, and
I guess what I'm getting at is if you could tell us a location that you've done one and it's been in service for at least a couple of years, I would just love to take a look at it and see, if I can, just to see how it's working, I guess.
okay.
So that low impact area is going to be this bit heavy green all the way around the one side, right?
Right. So the south side, because it doesn't have a sidewalk, that actually in the south side actually gets more flow from runoff coming off the hill. That
Yeah.
actually is a larger area.
Is
So
that
that-
where you're putting those low impact, putting the stone and with the pipe in it? Or is it on the
Yeah.
other side of the road?
Yeah. So on the south side, it's basically a swale that's a foot deep, kind of a trapezoidal swale.
Yeah.
That sits on top of a trench full of stone. On the north side, it's basically like about a 3-foot wide pea stone trench that sits on top of a larger trench that actually goes below the sidewalk. So it's almost like having a little detention area below the sidewalk on this side, and it's like having an open channel on the south side sitting on top of a detention area as well. We did soil test pits from here all the way to here. Down the bottom of this hill is all really nice sand. So
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons that we looked at this, is that we feel that this is going to really promote a lot of good exfiltration down the bottom of the hill. Once you start coming up the hill a little bit, it starts getting a little tighter, start getting a little bit rockier, and you know, we have a large boulder up in this area. It looks like somebody had done some earthwork up in this area. There's a pile of stones. Some type of work has gone on here in the past, but
How big is the drainage area to your site location? I mean,
how big are the actual drainage areas?
yeah,
Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find.
and I'd be curious as to how the water is flowing now. Which does it flow in any particular path, or is it sheet flow down the hill, or what does it do?
So, hang on one second, Jim.
Did you mention you had done some test pits also?
Yes, we have. We've done about 15 test pits. I'm gonna just show you something in a second here.
Oh, where's my-
I'm just gonna share the screen again. Hold on one second. Okay, can everybody see this now?
Yes.
Okay, so what you're looking at right now is just essentially a watershed and soils map. So the culvert that Thor had mentioned, that A-series wetland, is essentially this area right here, and it flows over to this area here. So all of the tributary flow to this area, Jim, it starts almost back here at Lancaster Road. This all sheet flows in a northeasterly direction to a catch basin that's here at Mr. Howe's property, which picks this up, discharges it to another catch basin, drain manhole, and then we're pretty sure, and I say pretty sure in that we don't have like a camera or anything like that, but one of the older plans from Wakefield showed a line from here tying to this culvert. There's a high point Stark Ave here. This all flows to these two catch basins as well. That ties into another catch basin and then discharges to the culvert. This area here, all sheet flows down to this culvert and then gets picked up at the head wall here. This remaining area all flows right to the wetland area. And then from here, everything flows in a northerly direction. Ultimately ends up, we're not 100% sure. The gentleman that lives right here on Molly Circle, I think his name's Mr. Fricio, was on the other night. He mentioned that, you know, in the past, there had been a lot of work down here on private homes, that type of thing. But the general flow direction is this way. Ultimately, it ends up at Nahant Street, I'm sorry, comes underneath Valley, and then we believe it ends out discharging to the wetlands right above the Mill River, I'm sorry. There is a culvert here, as Thor mentioned, at a swale that takes the flow from the end of Molly Circle, and then that flows along the back property line here. So
It
this
flows
is,
from-
yeah, flows along here and then heads out this way. The proposed condition, Jim, as you can see, what we're doing is essentially we're keeping the same flow path from the back of Lancaster to Mr. Howe's catch basin. This area still flows here to the head wall. This remaining area here actually gets picked up and diverted around. All the houses and all the driveways get picked up in its own system. And then, believe it or not, the amount of flow that actually go to these trenches actually gets reduced quite a bit because we're breaking everything up so much. The houses, as you can see, are crosshatched because they get discharged directly to their own systems. And then the yard drainage here goes to this pond. This yard goes to this pond. And then this area goes to this trench here. Ultimately, everything just gets either infiltrated, or if it gets down to the end and has to overflow, it overflows to a crushed stone apron and then flows to that swale and then flows back out to where it normally would. So we have demonstrated that by using this stormwater management program that we are able to reduce the amount of peak rates of runoff for the site.
So would, so on the south, if the water's coming from the south heading north,
Yep.
would it actually cross the street?
No,
Or
there's gonna be a wall. So
Right, but
right
can you-
now, there's a bit of grade difference, Jim. all the water in the existing condition sits here. So this just sits right here now, gets picked up by the head wall and then discharges here. And we're gonna do the same thing in the proposed condition. Any runoff that comes here will just sit and then discharge through the culvert.
Okay,
It
but
won't flow across the street.
it won't flow. Okay, but in that section you showed us, it looked like it had a big, where's the low point in the road?
So the low point in the road is right about here. So once that occurs, if in fact, you know, the runoff that hits the stone, if we have a big rainstorm and everything kind of ends up down the bottom, it still exfiltrates through the bottom. But if it does work its way up high enough, it'll discharge through a pipe and over a spillway and then still make its way down to the culvert. So it won't just discharge to the north. It'll actually be slowed down a little bit here. On this side, if it does build up to the point, it won't discharge right to the wetland. It'll discharge this pond first, and then it'll go over a spillway and then into the wetland.
Hi, this is Silvana. I have a question. Can
Sure.
you tell me again where the retaining walls are going to be?
Sure. Hold on one second, Savannah. I'll put the,
And my other question is it going to interfere with the flow of the water?
No. no, it's not.
Okay.
So here, let me just blow this up a little bit. So there'll be a retaining wall that varies in height from, say, 1 to 3 feet all along here. And then that'll just die right here. On the other side, we'll need a little retaining wall here to run around. That'll end up at right about here. So, and the reason for that is we're trying to balance the cuts and fills on the road as much as possible, which I'm sure you've seen before. So in order to do that, and we have to match this grade for this gentleman's driveway. Sort of as Thor had said before, there's an existing sewer now that comes down this way and then discharges out to Molly Circle. So we have to raise those rims and structures, but that's going to stay in the same place. This existing culvert will stay in the same place, and this existing drainage system will stay in the same place and function as possible. So there won't be any increase to this existing drainage system at all. It'll be separate from our system.
Thank you.
You're
Could
welcome.
you show us the cross section again?
Of the road?
Road in the swale.
Sure. Hold 1 second. There you go. Again, just remember, this isn't really to scale. This is more just to give you
Okay.
dramatic effect.
And you had mentioned there'd be a sidewalk on one of the sides.
Yes, there'll be a 4 foot wide sidewalk on the
Okay, got
north
it.
side. Typically with a low impact development subdivision, you don't have sidewalks just to cut down on the amount of impervious area. However, the planning board said, we're going to waive one side. We don't want to waive both.
So you transition from the sidewalk to a pea stone top layer.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the idea, so DEP Stormwater Handbook allows you to use a top layer of pea stone, gravel, or sand as TSS removal for sheet flow only. We've had a little back and forth with the DPW about this. I'm going to give them a little more information about it, but essentially any runoff that flows through here, if there's sediment or fines or that type of thing, it gets caught in this top layer. And the reason for that is it's a lot easier to just shovel off this top layer on top of a filter fabric and, clean it and put it back in place or replace it if need to, if there was, a spill or something like that. This side, essentially, there's a grass swale that's about 8 feet wide. So this side, as you can tell, as Jim asked how much flow is here, and this is taking more of the runoff up the big hill. So there's a little more need for volume here. We're still going over this cross section a little bit with DPW. This is probably going to change a little bit. They said they'd like us to maybe take out. We usually put in these pipes just to make sure that everything, kind of like a septic trench, everything gets dispersed laterally along the trench, so you don't have it heavily weighed more on one side or the other. But where there is somewhat of a slope to the road anyways, they said this might be a little bit overkill. So that is probably going to be coming out. I have to talk to Bill Renault about that. And essentially we have to try to keep the bottoms of these trenches above the estimation of high groundwater by 2 foot minimum. There's only one spot on the south side. I believe it's at 3.5 feet. So we have to do mounding calculations for that, which we provided to the DPW for review.
And what are the soils that would be below, the undisturbed earth? What are the soils there?
These soils are all sands. Thor's here. He can tell. Thor actually did the test pits. I believe these were all sands and medium sands. So it's really nice stuff to infiltrate in.
Yeah, that's correct. We had really nice medium sand, not too fine, so infiltration should be really good here.
What do you do about plowing snow and stuff? How do you?
Well, that's a good question, Jim. And that's one that keeps on coming up at the planning board as well. So essentially you do plow this off to the side of the road, and the south side, as you can see, actually has more room for storage of snow. So it can be plowed off into the side where it can then melt and that type of thing. A lot of people have been concerned that, this isn't going to work, that we're going to get too much snow and that type of thing. I did mention to Bill that, I live in Billerica, I think, and right up the street from us, the town of Billerica actually did a hybrid. On the left side of the road, there's catch basins, sidewalks, and curbing. On the right side of the road, it's a channel just like this, and they did essentially the same thing. And I think anybody that lives in New England right now has probably seen this winter was just absolutely brutal on drainage systems. You'd have snow, rain, then it would freeze, get clogged, that type of thing. I mean, a lot of roads in Middleton and Andover, had to get shut down because if the catch basin would be overwhelmed or that type of thing. So I kept a good eye on the one right near my house. Even when there was snow in it, it was still able to keep functioning as a drainage structure. And when it rained, it was still able to take the runoff. A question did come up in that what happens, and I'll just share this with you. One of the questions came up, someone was concerned that what happens if, this gets clogged? In other words, we have too much snow and the low point gets clogged. So, one of the things I said is most likely going to happen is like I at my house here, I have a catch basin in front of my house. I have to make sure that I go out and I clean it all the time. Otherwise I get a huge puddle in my driveway. So if this were to get clogged, it's easy to shovel this out. A homeowner may do it, or they could contract somebody to do it. If, let's say, this did get clogged, what would really happen? You'd start getting a puddle here. And essentially what would happen was that would either build up and then spill over the back edge of sidewalk here, or what Mr. Renault asked us to do would be to put in overflow catch basin rims. And once the water reached a certain level, it's just going to get discharged right to this pond here. So the water level here would never really get any more than, say, 7 or 8 inches deep.
So
Which
these
in
other
normal-
ponds,
Oh,
these
sorry, go
other-
ahead.
the other ponds that you have here that you were just pointing to one of them, where they're like an overflow. What storm event would see water in those?
So they'll see water just about in every storm, but the question is, how long is the water going to be there? Down at the bottom here, as Thor mentioned, this line right here is sort of the limit of the textural analysis that Mr. Renault asked us to do. So right in this area, all the way through here is all sand. So, the model allows us to build in a certain exfiltration rate.
That's
So-
the stormwater management. model.
Right. But they all, one of the criteria for these, Jim, is that they all have to be empty of runoff, within 72 hours.
72 hours, yeah.
Right. And they all do that.
Okay. So it's not really an overflow then, is it? It's just a hydraulic connection between the ponds, isn't it?
So the normal overflow for this, Jim, would be this spillway.
Yeah,
So normal conditions would be this would just reach the spillway elevation and it'll just travel
Okay.
over until it hits here.
yeah. It's gonna
If
go
the-
back down to where the existing culvert is.
Right. If the water gets up to a certain height, it will then go into this culvert and then come across the street and then be picked up here. And then it can discharge either through the pipe here or spill over the stone spillway here again.
So which one does it hit first?
It all depends. They all get hit basically at the same time.
No, but I mean, where you have you showed me that where it's got the D there, right there. So
Yep.
is that lower than the spillway that's off to the left?
No, it's higher. This
That's higher, so-
is the primary exit.
So what elevation does it discharge at then? What's that, 108?
I see
That would be-
106.
107.5.
And then what's the bottom of the basin?
Bottom of the basin is at 105. So you get about 2.5 feet of water in here.
Feet of water in there. But you're probably not gonna maintain the water anyways, because it's gonna go through the sand.
Yeah, I mean, this line right here is the limit between like sand and like sandy loam. So, but again,
Okay.
we're just
Yeah.
kind of guessing exactly where the texture ends. I mean, we're just
Mhm.
kind of, I have a feeling that this is gonna, just exfiltrate very rapidly.
Mhm.
Same with this one. This is all sand and this,
Is the base of that getting planted with any kind of wetlands plants or anything, or?
in
how's
here,
that?
normally just loam and seed. They're not designed to be pocket wetlands. They're just, because they're set 4 feet above the estimated seasonal high groundwater table.
Oh, okay,
I'm sorry, this one's a little bit lower than 4 feet. That's why we had to do a mounting calculation.
okay.
I believe it's 3 feet.
Okay, so I guess that would work.
Can I ask why you decided to do a low impact development?
So the reason for that is that in order to do a traditional subdivision, we would have had to have built up these walls a lot higher. And we would have had to put in catch basins and that type of thing. So this low impact development works with the land as opposed to forcing the land to work with us. So we did look at both, and this one seemed to be a lot less disturbance, a lot less work as far as what we would need to do. And we thought this was a better alternative. If we did want to, you could build a traditional subdivision right here in the original layout and continue the curbing, put in catch basins and that type of thing. But we thought that this would be a better looking project. And also, as you can see from where the limit of this is, there'd be more work closer to the wetlands. And we thought we'd try to pull the roadway further away from the wetlands.
You probably could get a house up there either if you did the conventional way.
You actually could squeeze a house in there, but we wouldn't be able to keep anything. We wouldn't be able to keep the 25 foot away from the wetland, which we all know that the commission likes 25 feet.
We do.
Well, I guess we should take a look at this.
Yeah, we definitely will. Quick question though, the test pits. How deep were your test pits and did you hit water?
We did in some places and we did not in others. All of the soil test pit logs have been given to the DPW, and we've also noted them on the plan where we did. So some places we didn't hit any groundwater, some places we did. So we put it on the plan. And any place where we had a drainage structure that was less than 4 feet, we provided the mounting calculation to the town engineer as required from the stormwater policy.
Has the town engineer replied with any comments yet?
So he just gave us a new response letter on Tuesday night. I'd say we're about, I don't want to guess on a percentage. I think we're about 90% there with everything that they've asked for. There's still a few more things that they'd like us to do. But also the chairman, Mr. Lowry of the planning board, would like to be involved with this as well. They would like to be invited to the site visit. So all of the information that we've given to the planning board, we've also given to the commission. So any changes that we're going to make for the planning board, and I still have some revisions, some changes to make. We're going to be back before them on April 12th. So I'm hoping to get everything back by next week. So we'll be submitting that to them and you as well. And we'd like to see how this goes. So on our site visit, and we can get a better idea if there's any other things that we're going to change before we do a final plan.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the commission at this point? Are there any questions or comments from the public at this point? Are there any other questions or comments from planning board or anybody else? All right, let's plan a visit. Can we do something next week, during the week? What's everybody's availability? Some evening?
On the weekend, Bob?
What's that?
Are you not available on the weekend?
I am not available this weekend or next. But I am
6 p.m.
available
is good.
Monday,
6
Tuesday,
p.m. is
Wednesday,
good.
Thursday. Huh?
6 p.m. is good. Of next week, 6 p.m. like we did last week.
Does that work for you, Teresa?
It's hard for me, as you know, because I was late.
Yeah.
All right.
What evening did you say?
We haven't decided, but we can do.
I could do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Jim, what's your schedule look like?
I mean, at that time of day, I can do any day. You're talking around 6 or 6:30.
Yes.
Does that work for you? No, that doesn't work for you.
No, it does. I mean, is it still light out at 6:30? I think.
Yeah, well, it's on the verge, I think. It's heading down.
Get lighter every day.
Is there any one day that you could do it?
I'm just checking now, sorry. No, any one of those days would work, is fine. And again, I prefer, again, late at 6:30 if that's possible, unless if you think it's too dark, then it's okay.
No, I think we could target 6:30. Also,
Not a huge area.
I guess the planning board would also like to join us in the site walk. Is there a day next week that works best at 6:30?
Matt is there, maybe he wants to speak.
Hi, yeah, we haven't really discussed any days, so we'll work around your schedule. And what I'll do is I'll post it as a meeting for our board, and whoever can make it, can make it. So
Okay,
we'll work around your schedule.
okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did we say Wednesday? I'm sorry.
Well, we haven't said yet. I'm actually going to just do a quick weather check for next week and see if there's any days that just don't make sense. I mean, it looks really good weather-wise. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday all appear to be dry.
Okay,
Do we want to do Wednesday?
that would be good for
6:30?
me.
Sure.
All right, Wednesday at 6:30.
Fine.
Okay. 6:30 it is. On Wednesday, the 30th. Is that
Okay.
okay with the applicant?
It's okay with me. Thor, how about you?
That should work for me fine.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Excellent.
and we'll get the road center line staked out, and we'll try to stake some of the ponds, and I'll try to throw a few more things in there, maybe just so everybody can get an idea where they're going to be while we're walking around.
Perfect. Yeah, maybe the edge of the swales or,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we could do either the center line of the road, and then maybe I can even stake the sidewalk on the left side, and maybe, because that's pretty much right on top of the swale on the left, and then maybe the
Right.
center of the swale on the right, and maybe a couple of stakes around the ponds at the bottom.
yeah, that would definitely be beneficial. All right. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you Wednesday night.
All right, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next up. Elaine, you ready to move on?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Next up is 313615, that's 7 to 11 Audubon Road. And this is a public hearing continued. Notice of intent for proposed utility realignment and installation of a loading dock and paver driveway within the riverfront area and within 5 feet of BVW.
Yeah, I'm Peter Rogan with Hayes Engineering, and I represent the applicant. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I thank you, Peter.
Okay. We had a site visit a week ago last Wednesday, and there was still a number of unanswered questions that the commission had. And so we have put together a little presentation to try to give you a little more information as to what we do. And we've also come up with another idea for replicating the values in the riverfront area that are potentially being interfered with by the turf stone drive. And I've got Tony Capichetti, who is an engineer with us. He's got the presentation, and I'd like to have him share his screen and go through the presentation so we could discuss it.
Sure, you're okay to share.
Thank you. So, as Peter said, Tony Capichetti, I'm an engineer with Hayes Engineering at 603 Salem Street in Wakefield, Mass. We're here for IRG Wakefield Limited Partnership at 711 Audubon Road. Existing parcel is bordered on almost 2.5 sides by the Saugus River down here at the, I guess this would be the east, north, and down it comes and wraps around. The 200-foot riverfront area encompasses most of the parcel coming out to where my mouse is coming here because of the configuration of the Saugus River. What we have for the resource areas on the site is BVW located to the east of the proposed work, riverfront area associated with the Saugus River, and that's coincident with the BVW flags. Some inland bank that is coincident with BVW flags 17 through 21. And then we also have bordering land subject to flooding, which is coincident with the zone AE shown in the firm maps, which translates to elevation 179.70 Wakefield shore base. The proposed project consists of constructing about 5,800 square feet of turf stone permeable pavers to create a driveway around the rear of the building to access a proposed loading dock. And then there's some existing overhead wires and associated poles that would be relocated to feed a new transformer at the rear of the building. And as Peter said, we look for some ways to further enhance the function of the building and mitigate for some of this work. And there's two existing 8-inch roof drains that discharge directly from the rear of the building in this area here out to the river. And we'd like to intercept those. We did some test pits. There's good sands and gravels out here. We'd like to install some Cultex behind the building here. So just to show that the area of work is kind of outlined in yellow here for the proposed paper stone driveway. It stays in the existing kind of disturbed lawn area within the 100-foot riverfront. This is the plan that was submitted showing the proposed turf stone area coming up to the loading bay. We then added 12 Cultec recharges that take about 3/4 of an inch off of the 2-story portion of the roof back here to offset the proposed turf stone pavers, and relocating some poles located here and here to reroute the electric, and then going underground with the electric to a proposed transformer. This is the blow up of the work area showing the proposed turf stone area. And you may not be familiar with the turf stone product. It is a paver stone that is open. So it lays out in a grid fashion, and then that grid is backfilled with a loam and then seeded or put with sod plugs. And then it's allowed to grow, and this is shown in kind of various states. Some people do put stone in it, but we're proposing lawn. And then when fully grown, it looks like a lawn, but it is able to provide H20 loading, which is essentially tractor trailer truck loading over that grassed area. And it's an openness ratio, so 40% of each stone on top is open, and then it's placed on top of the aggregate base, which enhances infiltration. So it's essentially a permeable paving solution for limited vehicular traffic, which is what we expect with this loading bay. I'm sure you're familiar with the storm tech chambers for roof runoff. The additional 12 SC310s would provide about 372 cubic feet of additional storage for infiltration. That's not taking into account the volume that would infiltrate. That's just what is stored under the ground, and that's about 3/4 of an inch. And I'm sorry, that's equated to the pervious turf stone surface. So that 3/4 of an inch over the total disturbance for the turf stone. The work is within the 100-foot riverfront area. There's about 6,000 square feet of disturbance between the turf stone and then the temporary disturbance for the stormwater areas. The stormwater areas do not count as work in the riverfront area. We did provide an alternative analysis. Those alternatives included the use of the existing loading docks, but they're not accessible from this area of the building. There's multiple tenants in this space, and the open space does not have access to any loading dock. We looked at relocating and constructing loading docks in other areas. In the other areas of the buildings are all currently occupied and don't connect to this warehouse use. We do meet the no significant impact performance standards for the riverfront area. This lot was created before October 6, 1997. So we're allowed to disturb the greater of 5,000 square feet, or 10% of the total riverfront area on the parcel. This work is less than 2% of the parcel's total riverfront area. And again, it's somewhat temporary in nature, in that once restored, it'll look like a healthy functioning lawn that will just be able to be driven over on occasion for use for loading. We're unable to maintain the 100-foot buffer of undisturbed vegetation, but there is no undisturbed vegetation on this site. This whole area is previously filled and mostly manicured lawn. There's no increase in impervious surfaces. In fact, we're actually enhancing the infiltration by taking that area of roof that's directly discharging to the Saugus River and putting it back in the ground. We're not going to impair the capacity for wildlife habitat. We're going to maintain a buffer. We're not cutting any mature trees, and the existing habitat's already been degraded because it is maintained as lawn. And then again, there's no impairment to ground or surface water quality. We enhance groundwater recharge, and during construction, we're going to follow all best management practices, erosion control monitoring, and the like. So that concludes the brief presentation, and I'll put the plan up in case you have any questions or comments going forward.
I'd just like to make a couple of points. The two of the questions that were asked in the field were whether or not these stones could take the loading, and the H20 load is essentially the heaviest load that you can bring over the roadway. And the manufacturer says that they're approved for H20 loading. And then the other question that was asked was what percent of the paved stone pavers or turf stone pavers actually covered the ground, and that's 60%. They're 40% open. And I think these pictures from the manufacturer actually show well how they work. And the infiltration that was provided, those are two existing pipes that take roof front runoff, which is presumed clean under the Act. We will leave an opportunity for free discharge for any storm that exceeds what the contactors can take. But it will be eliminating direct discharge to the Saugus River, so it's mitigating flow, and also to some extent mitigating any temperature effects that there might be, because it's roof runoff. It actually gets hotter than what the groundwater would be.
Peter, what is the distance between the top of bank and the edge of the roadway that you want to put in?
Well, what scale is this, Tony? It's from the top of bank is pretty much coincident with the BVW line. It may be a little bit above it. And do you have the plan right there to scale, Tony? Or
Well, so I did take a look. The closest area in this point here was 7 feet, kind of right as we get by the building. However, that's where we tie into the existing pavement. And then over here, it's a much flatter or gentler slope. So we are, this is the closest point to the wetland. We're just about 5 feet away in this location here. But the slope really doesn't start to pick up until 177. So from the top of slope, again, we're in that 7-8 foot range.
Peter, I have to say that I am not in favor of this because I worry that the roadway is going to eventually alter the bank. And I say that because I think there's a lot of groundwater is close to the surface, and my experience with this type of stuff is it's over time, it's just going to slough off into the riverfront, into the river. You're just so close. We've never had anything this close. That's what I'm worried about. That's my only objection.
the only thing
I wish you could find something, another part of the building. I mean, there's other areas over there that I know it means some renovation, but you're gonna do renovation anyways, aren't you?
we looked at that. We looked at trying to create a loading dock on the other side of the connection, and it just really disrupts the building itself. And it's essentially bringing the product in through the pedestrian area into a foyer, and it just doesn't work very well at all because we're trying to get to the back area where he's got the pointer now. Other areas around the surface of the building, and after we left there last Wednesday night, I took a ride again to kind of refamiliarize myself with it. If you go to the right, this pavement stops right at the corner of the building, and it's even closer there. You could never get a driveway at all through along there where he's got the pointer going now. One thing I have mentioned before we could do, the driveway was about, I think, 18 feet wide. We can get away with it a little bit narrower than that. I was trying to make sure that it was wide enough for a box truck, but
Mhm.
we could bring it back consistently, I would say a couple more feet, making it 16 feet wide.
Mhm.
And we only need one-way traffic. We only have one truck at
Yeah.
a time that needs to access this space.
You know, Peter, the only problem with that is that once this thing is constructed, you have no control over how it gets used. These people could sell the building, sell, you could have who knows what driving back there. So I don't think you can, qualify it with, it's only gonna be a truck once in a while, because you don't know, really don't know that. I think that makes it all the more problematic.
Doug Avola is with us from the company that owns the, he's actually the vice president of real estate. Is there anything that you could think of that could control that, Doug?
As far as, obviously, we've owned the building since 1996. We've been good stewards of the land, and we continue to be. The goal for this particular site, this is a 10-year lease for this particular space. So for that 10 years, this is exactly how it would be used for that tenant-specific use. It would not be used by any other tenant, and no other tenant would be granted access for it. Certainly, we could install a gate if need be at the front, whereby the tenant that occupies the rear space would be the only one that controls that loading dock access, if that helps.
And we could accept a continuing condition in an order of conditions that would require any change in the tenant to come back to the commission to see how they might anticipate using it. And we could ask the tenant to keep a log of trucks going in and out with a lock gate.
I'm not trying to be difficult, but I just have, I'm just worried that it is gonna alter the resource. I have to think about this.
The bank is not very high there, and it's also not.
I know,
very
but if you had a section through there and showed the loading for a truck and could somehow engineer it or do some calculations to show what the share value is for the soil and how it's gonna react to the loading, what type of loading each wheel would put on it. I mean, that's a little bit more information that would help sell this. I just think it's a terrible location to put a road. It couldn't be any worse. And right across the river, that whole road is falling in now, and that was all ledge.
Right, and it was ledge, and it was probably not, the voids were probably not filled in. And that roadway is, I think, 6 or 7 feet above the wetland or land underwater that's there. I mean, that's a totally different situation, and that's also an access to a major mall in terms
Well,
of.
it wasn't when it was built, though, Peter. It wasn't when it was built, and yeah, it may be up high, but it's the loading is the loading. You're down close. I don't see how that helped you. I think it's a worse situation for you over here.
Well, it does help because the load spreads out at about a 45-degree angle off the edge of the road. And so if you take a 45-degree angle with what you got there and you take one with what we've got, I think you'll find that our forces probably don't break out of the wall, and those did. I mean, I'm perfectly willing to do some cross sections of this in the critical points.
You get some soil sand, you do some soil boring in there and determine what the shear value is for that soil. That would be helpful because,
Well, I think
the water doesn't help you. The water is your enemy when it comes to something like this, because it makes the soil flowable. You can, when you walk over something long enough and there's water in it, it pumps the water right up through the soil. So
well, the gravel that we encountered here was extremely coarse. I was really surprised.
Yeah.
And water flows fairly quickly through it.
Yeah.
One thing we can do, we can cut the width of this back a little bit. Doug actually indicated that he thought the trucks could get through. And if we have to, we can pull this turning little Y formation back a little bit as well. It might mean that the truck has to make another turn to get in, but we could do that. And let's take a look at the failure plane of the cross section that goes behind the what's that, the Hilton Inn now, or I forget which brand it is.
Yeah, 4-Point Sheridan.
Yeah,
The Sheridan, yeah, it used to be a Hilton, but
Yeah, Colonial Hilton.
when we did it, but now it's a Sheridan.
And
You know-
your tight point is on this left-hand side of your screen. You're right in there. That's the tightest point coming perpendicular or to that wall that you're showing there.
Yeah, there's a driveway there now, actually.
correct. There's a driveway that ends at this location where we're tying into, actually. Let's see if I
In
can-
fact, I think the driveway might have gone a little bit further than that. I don't know, Doug, if you have any history, but it looked to me like there was some bituminous in the top layer there.
I believe it did at one point, and a previous tenant had replaced the asphalt with a concrete pad, and we took it up when they left. That was probably, I don't know.
There was a nitrogen tank there, wasn't there?
That was the concrete pad, yeah.
Yeah.
The only question I have is if it seems like that turnaround, or so as you drive in, you've got that little leg to the right, so the truck can then back up. What if that was reversed? So you're turning left towards the buildings and then back up almost straight. Does that?
That would help in that section. That would keep you away from the bank for sure.
Yeah,
It makes,
I'll tell you,
makes for-
it's harder for the truck to do that, but if
Well,
it makes
Peter,
a difference.
one of the things that, I had spoke to the owner, and he is not wed to all of that concrete pad out there. In fact, it was something that he inherited with the building. So there's a concrete wall out there that's not structural. I don't know if it was decorative at the time when the building was put up, but it's by that clump of shrubs. And then there's a big concrete pad. So we would have no
Right.
problem eliminating that in order to make this backup area, turnaround
Yeah.
area better.
Backup area would go better where you put it, where there's no vegetation. I mean, we could take the concrete pad out, but to make the radiuses work, yeah, Tony, that's where it would go. And it's not as good a turning situation as what we're showing, but I mean, we can make the truck work.
Well, conservation wise, that's a better option for us.
it would still need some sort of because I would envision, the truck would need to swing in and then back.
That's right.
Yeah,
But something like
But-
that would work, and we could pull that back, and we can do the 3 feet, and we can do a couple of cross sections too.
I mean, given the fact that, this is not a regular occurrence delivery for the tenant, if it has to be a couple of turns versus one, I don't think it's an issue at all. If this helps everybody involved to buy off on the project, certainly would be willing to do it. If we can get further away from the wetlands, and that makes everybody a lot more comfortable, I'm not worried about 1 or 2 more turns.
Peter,
one thing that-
what storm event are those Caltex for the roof runoff designed for?
So we have
Go ahead,
basically
Tony.
3/4 of an inch storm over the back roof. We could add some more. We're just trying to maintain, it is a slab.
Right.
They like to see 10 feet off, so that's what we held. And we didn't want to get into the slope over here and excavate although it is exempt, it's just you start, you start adding some cover and you chase it down the slope. So we're trying not to minimize these trees, but we're going to pull this back. I might be able to extend and get a few more and get up to a 1-inch storm event.
What is the depth? I mean, a 3/4 inch would be what, close to the annual storm?
Well, the annual storm is 2.6 inches, I think,
Okay,
but 90% of the storm events are less than 1 inch. throughout
right.
the course of the year.
Where does the water go now from that roof?
So there's 2 6-inch pipes that directly discharge right to the river.
Let's clean
So
up.
we would cut these and put new piping in underground, tie into our Caltex,
Here.
and then
Get off.
The other thing is we have not done the a mounding calculation, and we haven't dug a test hole at that location. This is just something that we actually early this week, we decided that this would be a good thing to offer. We might be able to put some deeper Caltex there, Tony.
yeah, so we're 3.5 feet above the groundwater. We could go down to 2 and go to some larger Caltex units as well. So 175.5 is generally through these 3 pits here. The groundwater elevation, that was 4 feet down. They were all 48 inches in this general range. So that's kind of what we're holding. And then we held bottom of stone at 179, 3.5 feet above that. So we can go to maybe something, the 740, I think is 30 inches. This is a 16 inch. So that would add about 75% more storage.
Yeah, that would be a benefit.
And it would also take, I mean, most of the rainfall falls in rainfall that's less than 1 inch. We get about 44 inches of rain a year, but they don't come in 4 big 7-inch storms typically. Perhaps we have some information on that we can provide the commission. My point being that most of the runoff would be infiltrated.
Right.
How large is that roof area that you're picking up?
That's about 7,000 square feet. And I'm not entirely sure. I couldn't find the scuppers. I know that this area definitely goes to these 2. I couldn't find anything for the upper section. It could go for the whole 2-story, but I just couldn't find a drain to document that.
Doug, maybe you could have Reno look into that for us.
We'll be actually on site tomorrow, so we can verify where those go.
Can we get a copy of that presentation that you just, that PowerPoint
Yeah.
that you just did? Because
Yes.
I don't know. Was that just something that you just did now? Or
Yeah,
recently?
I just put it on this, put it together this morning to try and,
Okay.
but I'll email it to the commission first thing in the morning.
Okay.
So can I ask, on the other side of this building, I'm sorry that I don't know this. Is there any space on the other side of the building?
Available?
Well, where does the lot line end? How's that?
I believe it's the center line of the river.
What is basically the west side of the building runs right along the bordering vegetated wetland. If you recall, we did a bunch of infiltration of the parking lot with some trenches and stuff because it was direct discharge to the river as well. We were in to do that when we repaved. but it's wetland. This apparently was I guess it was a natural peninsula. It was probably an oxbow in the river. But I was really surprised that there wasn't that much fill in there. I thought that they might have been filling the actual wetland, but it doesn't. It looks like the land was higher. It's only a couple feet of fill.
And I know as we got closer to the building, your soils technician was saying that that was all original natural soils.
The least amount of fill was in this test hole up here.
Yep.
And there was about between 18 and 24 inches along that section there.
I mean, my purpose in digging the holes was not from an infiltration standpoint. It was from a soil support standpoint. And when the question was asked whether or not the pavers could hold the trucks, I might have had some reservations about it if there had been peat or anything underneath it, but apparently it was all good gravelly material underneath here. And it's probably the outwash plain to the river. Well, let's see if we can't further supplement what we got and change the configuration and we can get that to the commission in advance, because these are ideas that we've had tonight.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Elaine or Rebecca?
No, I have no questions.
Okay, any questions from the public?
I'll send that presentation out to you all tomorrow when I get it in.
Okay,
So you have a
thank you.
chance to look at it.
All right, no other questions. We'll continue until April 14th. And we'll look forward to the new submission.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you very much.
All right. Elaine, you ready to move on or need a minute?
I'm
Okay.
good, thank you.
All right, next up is DEP 313608. It's 200 to 400 quarter powered parkway. It's a continued public hearing. Notice of intent for the construction of multi-story building within buffer to BVW, inland bank, bordering land subject to flooding and riverfront.
Thank you. For the record, this is Nick Delicavo with Allen & Major Associates. We're the civil engineers for the project. We continued the last hearing. So I think the last time we met was about a month ago. Since then, we've had some productive meetings on 3 separate occasions with Ms. Davis, Mr. Luciani, and Mr. Renault, as well as our development team, kind of updating and advancing the plans, trying to come up with a better design to minimize impacts within the buffers and to reduce some of the impervious areas in both the riverfront area as well as the buffers themselves. So we haven't made a new plan submission to the commission yet, as we're still working through some updates, but I'll kind of walk you through where we're at right now and some of the updates that we anticipate in the near future. Let me share my screen. Can everyone see this?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So based on some of the meetings that we've had, we've made some updates to both the layout of the parkway and some of the interior surface spaces, as well as some modifications to the actual drainage and grading beyond the parkway. It keeps telling me to move something out. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll just ignore it then. So First off, down at this lower left-hand corner of the parkway coming in from North Ave as you enter the site, we've removed this sidewalk that was previously shown on the back side of the parkway, as well as there was a paved drainage swale that leads from a break in the curb that went down into the wetland. So we've removed those, and I'll go over the impervious versus pervious calcs within the riverfront area a little bit later on in the presentation. The other modification to the parkway was up at this top left-hand corner. We actually pulled the parkway further away from the resource areas, further away from the riverfront, and closer in towards the site. You can actually see this light shaded line in the background. That's where the parkway was located previously. So we've kind of squared off this corner and put some radiuses on it to pull it further away from the resource areas. Moving along the back of building 3, these are some modifications that actually came out of our meeting today. We're going to be looking into pulling the parkway a little bit closer to our building, further away from the wetland areas, to kind of create some restoration and mitigation area for both the floodplain and really not even stormwater in this location, but just for the compensatory flood storage.
Will there be a change in elevation in that area with the parkway?
So we're already proposing a change in elevation. It's actually in 2 more slides I can show you.
Okay.
We're raising the parkway in this area to get up into the garage and to enter into the building. But on the back side, it grades back down until it meets the floodplain elevation.
Okay.
But when we relocate the parkway itself, there might be some minor modifications to the grading that we're currently showing, but I would say minor. It would be roughly about the same grading. This is on the right-hand side of the site. It's a little bit further down along the back of the garage. Again, we'd be pulling the parkway further away in this whole area until it meets back up with the existing parkway.
So that's about 9-foot offset or so. Is that what it's showing?
I would say, yeah, about 9 feet. Anywhere between like 6 and 10 feet.
Okay.
Now, before I jump into the updates to the grading, this is a plan we had showed you a month ago. Our original submission had shown the orange as the forebay and wet basins. We've since removed the wet basins, and then we had proposed just forebays. And the reason I'm showing you this is not only for just a recap, but the size of these forebays have since been reduced based on, again, some of the meetings that we've been having behind the scenes to kind of slim them up, pull them as far away from the resource areas as possible, and really to size them to handle the storm events per the Mass DEP handbook. These shown were oversized, mainly just to maximize TSS removal, but I think it's in everyone's benefit to kind of pull all of that away from the resource areas. So you can see this location where we removed the sidewalk, we gained about 5 to 6 feet of room to work with the grading. This forebay has shrunk down. It's now entirely outside the 25-foot no disturb buffer. We've also added in water quality swales to handle any overflow from these forebays as that water continues on down into the wetland area. We provided these water quality swales in any location where there's enough room. They do add a little bit more treatment, a little bit more TSS removal. But in some locations, such as this top left corner, there's just no room to really include a swale. This is where my cursor is highlighting. This is the previous location of the existing parkway, as well as where we were previously showing it. Again, we've pulled the parkway further in towards the site. So now almost the entire forebay is located in the previous footprint of the existing parkway. The elevations of all these forebays didn't change. They're all at elevation 80, and each overflow is at elevation 81.5. This hatched area, all the hatched area through here, it's going to be planted with a wetland seed mix, as well as specific plantings to enhance the natural habitat and growth of the wetland itself. I don't have the specifics yet on what plantings will be installed, but surely when we, during our next submission, we'll make sure that's included. It's another forebay that got adjusted behind building 3. Got a lot smaller. We added the water quality swale in. There's actually an existing paved swale. It's this thin dark line that runs right along the edge of the wetland. And that actually comes up to the existing parkway to handle the runoff in this area. So we've maintained those same drainage paths, try to put a little meandering geometry on the swale, helps slow the water down. The swale itself is flat, essentially, and that's all dictated in the handbook. It's a reoccurring theme here. Forebay got smaller. We have the swale going down towards the wetland area. And again, as we modify the location of this parkway, these forebays will continue to hug the backside of the parkway, so they'll become further and further away from the wetland area. This is the area where it ponds pretty badly out there today. Runoff will go back into the forebay and overflow into the drainage swale on the back and continue counterclockwise around the site. And then lastly, we have the forebay down in the bottom right-hand corner, closer to Lowell Street. We updated the riverfront exhibits. This is the existing condition of the site. All the hatched yellow areas are pervious green surfaces within the 100-foot inner riparian zone. The green hatched areas are pervious surfaces between the 100 and the 200 foot. You can see here, this is the existing sidewalk along the edge of the curb that comes up. This is the paved drainage swale that goes down towards the wetlands, and the walking path that connects to 100 Quinnipiac over the pedestrian bridge. Our proposed conditions, you can see we moved this parkway further away. I'll kind of jump back and forth real quick. It's the existing. This is the proposed. You can see the sidewalk's been eliminated, existing and proposed. Again, the yellow is the green space that we're creating within the 100 foot. The hatched green is the green space that we're creating between the 100 and the 200. A breakdown of those numbers within the 100 foot riparian, we're creating just over 2,000 square feet of green space. And between the 100 and the 200, we're creating 4,600 square feet of additional green space. And I've just got a couple more slides and then I can jump back and forth wherever you'd like. This is a snow storage exhibit. The red hatched areas are locations where there's an opportunity to store snow. I would say primarily on this site, snow is going to be trucked off. But, you know, there is room here for to shovel off these sidewalks. And maybe during smaller storms, you could get some of the pavement in these locations. But essentially all these hatched areas are landscaped areas. We're not proposing any snow storage in the bioretention area that's located in the center island. There's no snow storage allowed within the infiltration basins along the back of the site or the bioretention areas in either of the courtyards. And of course, no snow storage or stockpiling along the backside of the parkway, closest to the resource areas. So that's all I have right now. Again, we're still kind of in the process of modifying this design with the adjustment to the parkway along behind building 3. We do anticipate a forthcoming submission where these snow storage plans will be updated, the riverfront plans will be updated, so on and so forth. Pretty much a full revised set of plans.
Will the relocation of the parkway result in any utility poles or light poles being relocated?
Yeah, it's likely that some of those light poles along the back will need to be relocated. You can see here where we already made this change. We're reinstalling and relocating this light pole. You can see the existing base. We're pulling it further away and further away from the resource areas, closer to the parkway. They'll all continue to align with the backside of the curb.
Is that going to be a existing light pole or is that going to be a new light pole?
New light pole. So previously, while we were holding the original geometry of the parkway, we had at each location, we were keeping the bases because they're in good condition, but the poles themselves are dated. And of course, they have the old halogen lighting.
Right.
So we were going to be replacing the poles and the fixtures.
Right.
But at these locations where we're modifying the geometry of the parkway, as we pull it closer to our building, obviously we don't want those light poles 10 to 15 feet off the backside of the parkway. So those bases will be removed and there'll be a new base installed roughly in the same location, just along the backside. So like, for example, like this pole where we were keeping it, it'd be brought in closer.
Excellent. And again, I know we talked about the lighting plan before, but we're gonna be keeping to the dark sky, requirements any place we can with the 3000 degree Kelvin lighting, shielded lighting, downward lighting.
Yes. Yep.
Did we talk about with any of the plantings, including like pollinator loving type plants?
I can't really comment too much on the plantings. We have a landscape architect involved with that portion of the design. I don't know if Mitch from Goddard Consulting is on. He may be able to weigh in better than I can on that, but again, he didn't even design the plantings. But if he's unable to answer that question, we can make sure we have the landscape consultant with us at the next meeting to kind of dive into the landscape a little bit more.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, this is Mitch. Yeah, just a comment. So when I looked at Copley Wolf's original plan, there was a lot of pollinator herbaceous plants as well as woody specimens. So that there will be pollinator species. But again, with the plan revisions that we're going to have, we may as well just go over the specific ones next time around.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the commission?
So Nick, the operating plan and maintenance plan, there's a lot of things that have to be changed in here, right? Nick?
In the O&M plan,
Yeah.
let me pull it up.
I think.
So we have not submitted an updated operation and maintenance plan. What you're about to see, this is an updated version of it. And the majority of it will remain the same. We did add in some updated fertilizers based on information we received from Bill Renault. These 4 have been used elsewhere around the lake that he is familiar with and that he's recommended. So we've removed the previous ones that we had shown, which were also low nitrogen fertilizers, and replaced them with these. That was one update. Really, the only other update was we removed the wet basin, any sort of maintenance regarding the wet basin, and only included the sediment forebays as well as the water quality swale. And you can see that right here.
Okay, can I ask Elaine, I don't know if it was you or Rebecca, but are you still having continuing meetings about this?
Yes, Rebecca has been meeting with them. As a matter of fact, they met this morning, from what
Right,
I understand. Yep.
and do you know whether or not more are contemplated?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Are there any more expected?
Oh, yeah, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, there's been some good progress made, it looks like.
Nick, where are the deep sump catch basins?
I will show you. So the majority of the entire surface parking areas have deep sump catch basins to catch the stormwater. The only parking area that doesn't is the one in this top left corner adjacent to building 3. All the runoff from this parking lot is being run into bioretention area in this landscaped island. And any overflow will be piped into the underground chambers. But the remainder of the parking, this whole neighborhood driveway, you can see each catch basin at the low points, as well as this right-hand parking tray, all have deep sump catch basins.
Okay.
And each of those catch basins is connected into the isolator row of the underground chambered system. So Jim, the BMPs that we have on the site, which is, again, it's outlined in that O&M plan. We've got the deep sump catch basins. We've got the isolator row for the chambers. We have the sediment forebays for the runoff within the parkway itself. We have the bioretention areas. and we have the infiltration basin along the back of building 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions from the commission?
I wanted to ask, I'm sorry, I feel like I should know this, but where are you with the ZBA?
Matt, would you like to weigh in on that? Where are we at with the ZBA?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. We are still holding regular meetings with the ZBA. We are, if I were to guess, I think we would be closing a public hearing with the ZBA in the month of April. In terms of general site planning, though, in terms of building site planning, I should say, because of course there's still kind of some BMP site planning that we're still working out here. But as far as the ZBA is concerned, I think we're pretty much locked up there.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
Um, I don't have anything right now. We were gonna put all this wetland seed mix, and you said you're putting plants in, right? Are we gonna get some kind of an idea of what kind of density that's gonna be, or
Yes.
you're gonna have a landscape plan for that area?
Yeah, the landscape plan will cover all the areas, I mean, the entire site. Specifically though, in the hatched areas, there will be specific plantings shown throughout those areas.
Okay.
We can have a planting schedule as part of the next submission.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? Are there any questions from the public? I do see a raised hand. Dennis, yes. Dennis, you're muted. And we can see your screen, but we cannot hear you.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Romano. Can you share? Does that picture come up?
The drainage route 95
Yes.
photo? Yes.
Oh, good. Well, the issue I have is, can you see that picture now?
Yes.
Okay. This water drains into this canal, this drainage ditch here. That's next to Route 95. And it connects to a pipe that goes underneath the highway, and it comes out by my house. And I'm a little uncomfortable with them raising. I understand that it's going to be they're gonna elevate 4 feet. So I'm just wondering where that water is going to go. I hope it doesn't come up this canal and under the highway towards my house. I don't know what the solution is to this scenario is, but
Nick, would it be useful to just briefly go over compensatory flood storage and how that all kind of works out?
Yeah, sure. So I think it might be helpful if I share my screen. So compensatory, there's a certain amount of flood storage on the existing site, right? And so anywhere that we fill that floodplain, we are required to provide storage elsewhere on site to make up for that. And that's what we call the compensatory flood storage. So in the areas where I mentioned previously that we're filling or we're raising the grade, we're lowering the grade elsewhere on site to make up for that. So that the result is that there's no increased flooding downstream or anywhere as a result from the work that we're performing. So we have, I can probably pull up the compensatory flood storage numbers too, if that'd be helpful. So there's 3 exhibits for the existing condition and then 3 for the proposed. This first one shows the flood storage on our property.
We don't see anything. I'm
We're not
sorry, we
seeing
don't
it.
see anything.
Oh, really?
Let me try.
I was
to share
seeing it.
again.
No, we still see Dennis's screen.
Interesting, because I was seeing Nick's.
Can you see this?
Well, now I'm seeing Dennis's, but hang on. I can flip. I'm going to flip over to you, Nick, with my controls. I can see your screen, Nick.
Can everyone else see
You
the
all see
screen?
Nick's screen?
No.
No, we're looking at, we're looking at,
Hey, Dennis, can you stop sharing your screen for a moment?
okay.
Strange, I could see Nick's.
Is that stop?
No, but hang on.
Did that stop?
No.
Did that stop?
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you for your patience.
Can you see this screen?
Yes, I still see your screen.
Okay. Yeah, so that, Dennis, I appreciate the question because it is very important and it's something that's really impacted the whole design as a whole, to be honest. So again, there's going to be 3 separate sheets for the existing condition and then 3 separate sheets for the proposed. Each sheet represents a different elevation within the floodplain itself. The pink line here is the 100-year floodplain at elevation 83. The red hashed areas that you see, that's the 81 contour, elevation 81, within our property. So you can see the existing floodplain comes way up into the surface parking areas.
Which is where that picture of the car in the
Yes,
water was actually.
exactly. This is the corner that ponds the worst. And, you know, I would say the majority of the parkway on our property is within the floodplain today. So this is elevation 81. We have elevation 82. The hatched areas change, comes a little bit closer up to the purple line. And then finally, elevation 83. So we're able to calculate the volume of water between each elevation based on the area. and assuming that you're going in 1 foot contours. So we have a total flood storage here under the existing condition of 127,000 cubic feet. This is the proposed 81 elevation. And of course, the revised pink line, which shows the new 83 contour, the 100-year floodplain. We have the 82, and then it moves up to the 83. Under proposed conditions, we're providing 140,000 cubic feet. So significantly more than what exists today. Again, this is 127,000 under existing. And we have 140 under proposed. But what we've done is we've pushed a lot of that floodplain out of the parkway. It still remains entirely on our property, but we've pushed it further out of the parkway to kind of reduce the amount of flooding that occurs under any given storm event. Obviously, it does come up within the parkway throughout, but it's significantly less. This corner previously came through the building here and pretty much encompassed this whole corner of the lot. And so the way we've accomplished this is by slightly lowering the grades along the backside of the parkway. So right now, the existing parkway is low, and then the green manicured grassed areas are higher. So really the only ponding area comes from like these drainage swales, the low points, and then it opens up into a big swath of wet parkway. And what we're trying to do under the proposed condition is lower the area outside beyond the parkway to create that compensatory storage to prevent the flooding within the drivable surface. So Dennis, to answer your question, I guess we are raising some portions of the parkway, but overall we've increased the amount of flood storage on the site. So there will be no increase of any flooding or stormwater to your property or any property.
So you've gained about 10% more storage or something like that?
Yeah, about 13,000 cubic feet. We have 140 under proposed. It's around 127.
Okay.
So you can see this is that, I think there's like 7 or 8 parking stalls out here towards the main entrance of the existing building, well, on the backside at least. And our parkway's kind of coming in where my cursor is now. It's being pulled away, and this whole high area is now being lowered to make all of this area new flood storage. And the areas where we are raising the grades, this is kind of where it starts to raise up. This is the floodplain. We're climbing up until we get into our garage. These areas, a lot of them are outside. This whole area actually right here is outside the existing floodplain. So in these locations, we're already above the floodplain, so we're not filling any floodplain. Does that make sense?
Mr. Del Cava, we've been here for 96 years, and there was no Quantapile Parkway when we first moved here. And obviously there was no Route 95. And this area was used to be part of the lake at one time. And we were wooded uplands. And there's been so much fill put in into your site that we're now near the lake is wetlands, because there's been so much fill on your site. And the water is coming dangerously close to our house, because the water is going into the Mass DOT drainage ditch, and it goes under the highway. And when this was built, there was no American Mutual. So my concern is that you're elevating your property, and our drainage comes, used to come, this used to be, this drainage ditch still exists, but it's no longer connected. And if that could be reconnected, that would take us out of the equation. But my concern is that you're between us and the lake, and our water used to drain directly into the lake, and you're elevating your property, and that's a concern.
So let me just hop in. So what was just presented to us, there is elevating happening, but there's more drops in elevation than there is increases in elevation. The net difference is more storage capacity than currently exists. So based on those calculations, the area would be able to hold more water on site than it currently does.
But I understand that they're still going to drain water into the Mass DOT drainage ditch.
Yeah,
And
so if I may, through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We're limited on what we're allowed to do legally with the runoff within the parkway itself, because of the floodplain and because of the proximity to the resource areas and the elevation. So there's no way to hold any runoff that falls within the parkway. There's no way to hold that water back and infiltrate it on site. It's too close to the groundwater, and it's too low in elevation to convey it anywhere else, say maybe even the lake. But on top of the compensatory flood storage that we're providing, that 13,000 cubic feet, I just went back and looked through the calculations. We're providing an additional 57,000 cubic feet of stormwater storage on site in our underground chambers, within the bioretention areas, and within the large infiltration basin along the back. So what that means is, under proposed conditions, any water that falls on these roofs, any water that falls on the pavement within the development portion of the site, all of that water gets stored underground in some sort of chambered system or some sort of pond, and is infiltrated back into the groundwater. So none of that water will reach the drainage swale between our property and the highway, or the perennial stream here. It'll be infiltrated back into the groundwater. What happens under the existing condition, obviously there's none of these stormwater management systems installed. The site has an additional acre of impervious surface, and all of that impervious area sheet flows from the high point, pretty much the center of the building, outwards towards the parkway, into the wetlands, into the drainage ditch, and into the perennial stream. So it generates an immense amount of runoff into those areas, whereas the proposed condition here captures 57,000 cubic feet of it.
And that perennial stream, I think it's now known as Walker's Brook. Is that what you're talking about, Nick?
This stream between 200 and 100 Quinnipiac that runs, I think there's a,
Does that stream have a name?
I'm not sure. Not that, Mitch, do you know if there's a name for the stream? I don't know if Mitch is still on. He might have.
He's no longer on.
Okay,
I don't believe it has a name.
It used to be called the Ash Stream, but it's now called Walker's Brook. And Walker's Brook used to flow into the lake. But now I believe Walker's Brook flows backwards into the Reading Drainage Canal. And my concern is that there's 2 instances where water flows under the highway. One is in the Wakefield Reading Fairground subdivision where I live. And the other one is the Ash Stream, now called Walker's Brook. And that's flowing backwards upstream because people may have been blocking it. So my concern is that I don't want water coming upstream.
Well, unfortunately, that's beyond the scope of what we can do as part of this project. We can't reroute where the streams go. All we can do is make sure that we maintain existing drainage patterns and we meet the requirements under the Wetlands Protection Act, as well as the Mass DEP Stormwater Handbook, which we are currently showing. I understand your concern, but it's not really part of the scope of this project.
Right, I know we have talked about this before. This is something that we would need to work in conjunction with Town of Reading and maybe Mass Highway, because there's a bigger issue offsite, from this lot. And I know we've gone over this before, so we don't need to kind of hash it at this point. But we definitely would need to work with Reading and maybe, Highway Department for those other issues that are causing, the conditions that you're referring to, Dennis.
Thank you.
And that is something that is, on the books that we need to, have a discussion with Reading on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Are there any other questions? We are well behind schedule. And we would like to move on. Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay, so we'll continue until April 14th. And we'll continue to have discussions. All right, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is 14 Sunset Drive.
Yes, good evening, members of the commission. My name is Attorney Jesse Schomer. I represent the Rosenfields, the owner of this property.
Good evening.
Good evening. So just to give the commissioners a bit of an overview of this property and the reason why we're before you tonight, as you noted on your agenda, we're here to discuss a proposed restoration plan for some wetlands fill at 14 Sunset Drive. And just by way of a bit of history, the commissioners may recall that an enforcement order was issued back in, I believe it was October of 2019 by this commission. My understanding is that there was a report from DEP that there was some fill in this property and an investigation was conducted, and there was a determination that fill had taken place. So the enforcement order was issued, and based on that, my clients, Mark and Melanie Rosenfield, Mark is on the line tonight, and his father, Larry, who is the previous owner of the property, is also on the line tonight, as well as our wetland scientist, Mike DeRosa of DeRosa Environmental, and our surveyor, John Moran of the Moran Cameron Group. So in addition to hiring those gentlemen, the Rosenfields hired me to investigate the matter, and we reached out to Moran Cameron and DeRosa to conduct a survey of the site and a delineation of the wetlands to determine where, if there was fill back there, one, and two, where it was located. If I may, could I go ahead and put up on the screen for a moment just a couple of plans to give you a bit of background of the history?
Yes, please do.
Would that be appropriate? Okay. Okay, can everyone see this plan here?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a subdivision plan of the subdivision in which the property is located. This is from the mid 1970s, 1976. The property in question is this lot here. It's currently slightly reconfigured, but it's lot 5 on this subdivision plan. As you can see, it backs up to the Wakefield Linfield town line, which is formed by the Saugus River, which runs here. And I apologize, I misspoke. The property is lot 6 here. So I'll go next to an aerial image that we located of this is the project site here, not project site, the site in question. This is 14 Sunset Drive right here, and you can see the Saugus River running in this location, and there's a pronounced curvature right in this location here. And this aerial image was taken in 1978. As you can see, the Rosenfield house, which is there today, is not currently shown on this plan as of 1978 because it was built, I believe, the year after that. If I go to the next tab, this is an approval not required plan that was filed in 1984 by Hayes Engineering. I don't know if Peter is still on the line, but this was done by his office quite a bit back in the day. As you can see here, this is 14 Sunset Drive. The purpose of this plan was to reconfigure the lot line. So you can see my cursor here traces the original lot line for the property. And there was a land swap with the owner of this property here to reconfigure it so that the current lot line runs along here. And the reason for that was that there was an encroachment of a wood fence that runs along the lot line today. So I'll go next to a compilation plan. This was prepared by Moran Cameron Group, and John's available to answer any questions for you. But what he did in this plan is he overlaid the survey plan that he conducted in 2020, in April of 2020, over that aerial image, and as well as the A&R plan that I just showed you, which gives you a sense of the location of the Saugus River at that time, and two, and I'll go back to the A&R plan in a moment, the inaccurate location on the survey plan at that time of where the Saugus River was located. And I'll go back there now. So you can see here, this is the curvature that's shown on that A&R plan. And this is what it actually was on the ground. So based on this, we have determined that this was a location of the Saugus River as of 1978 and as of 1985. And based on that, we have concluded that the area in this location here was, if there was fill conducted in this area, it was done prior to the 1985 plan that's shown here. My clients, the Rosenfields, purchased this property in, I believe it was 1985. So based on that, we understand that the fill that took place in this area here took place at some point in the late 1970s is our guess, and we surmise that was done likely by the developer of the subdivision. As the commissioners may remember, during the site walk, which was held in early February of this year, There was located on the site a berm in this area here, which is vegetated. It had trees growing out of it, but it also had some construction debris and impervious material that was dumped in this location here. And the findings of DeRosa's delineation report was, in a nutshell, that this area here was the area where fill took place. So that brings us up to the current date, as it were. The enforcement order was issued, and we have examined it and did confirm the presence of fill here. What we're here tonight to present you is our proposed restoration order for this area. And I'll go ahead and stop the screen share and pause there if any of the commissioners have any questions. But if not, I would like to turn it over to DeRosa Environmental for Mike to present his restoration plan.
Are there any questions from the commission? We did do that site walk and did see the berm. So yeah, any questions by
I
anybody?
have a quick question for Tom. Tom, as it turned out, I know Joe Rosenfield, and should I recuse myself where I know who he is, or I've hired him on previous occasions?
No, there's no reason to recuse yourself unless your knowledge of him makes it impossible for you to be impartial, and that's up to you to decide.
Okay, all right.
Okay, would you like to go over the restoration plan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could share my screen.
Yeah, please do.
Can everyone see this?
Yes.
So this is a site plan that was prepared by John Moran's firm, Moran Cameron Group. And the area in green is sort of the area that's been we determined to consist of fill, which had been placed there over the years. The berm is over in this area, and there are, as we observed in the site walk, some of the members were there with us at the site walk not too long ago. There's some debris in there, concrete, other sort of construction debris, hard debris, bricks, concrete, things like that. That will all be part of the cleanup as well. So we're going to take that debris out of there and dispose of that appropriately. What we found in our sampling out here, what we did was we gridded off the site and determined how much fill was placed on top of the organic soils beneath the fill. And so we found it varies obviously from 6 inches to 15 inches. What we'll do is come in with a mini excavator and just scrape the fill material down. We'll either use it on the driveway or that'll be taken off site. We'll get back down to the organic layer. We may augment that soil with a blended soil that we like to use for our wetland restoration, largely an organic compost. Bring that in. So we have at least 10 to 12 inches of organic soil that we're planting into. And that'll be close to the water table. That'll be at the water table or just above. And the water table varies here too, obviously, because of the rise and fall of the river. Our planting plan includes canopy shrub and herbaceous species. So we've got 3 red maples. We've got a series of wetland adapted native shrubs. Everything's native: winterberry, red osier dogwood, and high bush blueberry. And the commission at the site walk had asked us to sort of, if we could, plant heavily where the driveway came in so that we end up with like a vegetated buffer, vegetated barrier, so that no more work will end up, no more fill and stuff will end up back in here. So we put a tree there and we put some heavy plantings of shrubs to act as that vegetative barrier. The ground plane plantings are going to consist of our wetland seed mix, which is largely a soft rush and a wool grass and sensitive fern mix. That will stabilize the new soil, along with a series of herbaceous plants, which the commission had also asked to bring in lots of pollinator plants. So we brought in blue vervain, turtlehead, cardinal flower, swamp milkweed, water iris, boneset, Joe pieweed. And those are just a classic wet meadow community. These will be brought in 1 gallon containers. We have a dense planting of all those. Our trees we get from a nursery in New York State, upstate New York State, and over the years, we found that the containerized nursery stock for trees has really declined. This is a nursery that actually field grows their material, harvests it when they're 1 inch to 2 inch in caliper. So they're about 12 to 15 foot trees when we get them, but they come bare root. So they hydrospade them, they clean them, dip them in a gel, bag them, and then ship them out in a day or two after harvest. So we get a big shipment of these in the spring. They only do a harvest in the spring and some in the fall. But we've had just much higher success rate using this bare root tree stock. So that's what we're going to be using here. Here's some images of what we're going to put in: high bush blueberry, winterberry, red osier dogwood, red maple, and then a series of flowering perennials that will spread as they go and as they get established. So we think this is really putting back a viable ecological system, not just planting some seed and hoping something grows. And I think that's all I have. If there's any questions, we can certainly take them. John Moran's here also as well, if there's any engineering questions.
It looks like an excellent mixture of pollinating, species and food providing, berry species. Any questions or comments from the commission?
I have a question. I must say it looks very nice. I do have a question about the berm. I know you said you were going to be removing some of the debris that's in the berm. What about the trees that are growing through the berm? Is all of the berm coming out? Are you going to take the berm out around the trees?
No, we're gonna leave the berm there because that's gonna make things unstable if we remove it. I think there's a couple pictures in here. This is sort of the debris we're talking about removing. It's sort of this, there's chunks of concrete, there's bricks, it's stuff that can be hand removed. We don't want to really disturb the integrity of the berm. I think that would be a mistake. We want to keep things growing there, and that's why we've got such a dense planting plan to establish that and hold those soils in place and keep everything stabilized.
Yeah, we did see the trees growing out of the berm in certain places, and during the site walk, we did agree that it would make more sense to leave it as undisturbed around those tree areas as possible, so as to not disturb the tree or the root system.
So the reason I ask is when this complaint first came in, it came in because the complaint was that there was displaced flooding that was coming up on the property of the property owner across the river. So it looks like everything else has been addressed, but did the property owner across the river see this plan, and is he aware that the berm will not be removed?
Elaine, hopefully I can try to go after that question. I'm not aware of whether the property owner across the river has seen this plan. The the challenge that we have is that the berm that we're all talking about is in large part not located on the Rosenfield property. So it's not really within their control or authority to take any action with respect to that. In addition, I understand that the property owner believes that there has been something that's happened in this area that has caused flooding to their property across the river. But as the photographs show, the river is where it is currently and has been for over 40 years. And that includes the berm in that location. So with all due respect to the owner across the river, I think they're just incorrect about what's happened here.
So whose land is it on, the berm?
It's located partially on the Rosenfield property, partially on the neighbor to the north, I believe the direction is.
On the same side of the river?
Correct.
Could we get a copy of the plan?
I believe that was previously filed with you.
This
that
one?
isn't. I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry, let me just pull the file. I just don't remember seeing that planting plan before. Okay, hold on. All right, sorry, I'm looking through files here. Okay, I've got the file. I'm looking through the file. I don't see anything in the file that looks exactly like what you were showing on the screen tonight. Can I get a copy of the planting, or is it in the DeRosa plan? I'm sorry. I didn't have a chance to look through the file to see if I could find it before the meeting. So the DeRosa is just a delineation plan. Could I guess the easiest thing to do would be simply to ask for, since you've got it electronically, to send a copy to the office?
Yep, I can have a copy delivered to your office tomorrow if you're in.
Okay, do you have it electronically?
I do have it electronically. Would you prefer it that way?
Could I get both? Yeah, thanks.
Certainly.
Are there any other questions from the commission? Elaine, do you have any other questions or comments?
I certainly would like a chance to look at the file. I have some concerns that the person who filed the complaint is not aware of the solution. I think we ought to touch base with this man, because if we make a decision without him, I'm not sure it won't have cause further problems down the line. I'd like to get that loose end nailed down.
Okay.
But
he's in a
planting
butter,
plan
isn't he?
looked really nice.
Is he in a butter?
He's in a butter across the river and the one who filed the complaint.
Okay, so wouldn't he have gotten copied on all of this?
He wasn't,
Okay. I didn't know that.
because I asked and he wasn't.
Okay.
If I may, Elaine, the purpose of this inquiry is, may I ask what the purpose of it is? Because I mean, Mike can speak further to this, but what we've determined is that, one, the berm has been there for over 40 years, and two, if you remove it, that will affect a change in the course of the river. And so based on our research, that we have our clients and even the previous owner, the developer of the subdivision, did not change the course of the river. And if we remove it now, it pretty much guarantees you're going to flood this area and change the course of the river.
You know, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that this is the person who filed the complaint. And it just seems to me when somebody files a complaint, that person ought to be made aware of a proposed solution.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. So in that case, commissioners, do you intend to take a vote tonight whether to approve this as a restoration plan, or would you like to defer this until after the neighbor's been notified?
Personally, I would like to get the abutters input on it first before I do anything else.
I think that would be the reasonable course of action. I think we like the plan. We like the plantings that were put on there. But to Elaine's point, it would be good to hear that the abutter is satisfied with the plan.
Okay, in that case, perhaps the best thing for me to do is to work with Elaine and make sure we get a copy of the plan into the neighbor's hand.
I think that would be great.
So I'm sorry, just to follow up on that. Are you going to, you know who this man is, right? You have his address, and I'm not sure if he has his own counsel, but are you telling me you're going to send this to him?
I don't know who it is, to be honest with you. My understanding is that it was the owner of the office park across the river, but I don't know who it was specifically who filed the complaint.
Okay, so I can get this information to you if you want to reach out to him.
Okay, that would be fine.
That would be fine. Okay, I'll get that information to you.
Okay, and I'll commit to the commissioners that I will provide a copy to that gentleman.
Okay.
All right, is there anything else to discuss on this? Is it reasonable to put it back on the agenda for April 14th? Elaine, do you think that's reasonable?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, if for one reason or another there should be a problem, it could roll over again. Certainly, it's been going on a long time. But if it works out, then the 14th would be fine. We can always continue it if necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely put it on again.
Okay.
Okay, we'll plan on returning on the 14th then.
All right, excellent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
All right, next up, we have some other business. Any particular order? We do have people waiting. I'm not sure, you know, who's who here, but Elaine, do you have a preference on what we start with?
No, I have no preference.
Can we take Greenwood Street?
Oh, you know what? Is Nilu here?
Yes, I do see Mr.
Down
Lu.
here. Yep,
All
I'm
right.
here. I can wait until the end. I don't mind. I'm a Nighthawk.
I think you're actually the only one that actually is here for any of the other business. So
Okay.
why don't we take you first?
Okay.
You know what, Bob? I think that was the email I sent you.
Yes.
So it shows the old plan. Maybe I should just bring everybody up to speed. So Mr. Liu had a plan that was approved by the Conservation Commission, and it was approved in 2018. And then he went before the Zoning Board of Appeals, I think. There was a problem there, and I guess that has been resolved. And in the interim, there is the new plan. That's the old plan.
Yeah, that's the
And
old
then
plan.
Pardon me?
Yeah, that's the old plan. Yeah.
That's the old plan. And this is the new plan. So this one was not referenced in the order of conditions, and this is the one that the modification is requested for.
Mhm.
I think that's it.
Yep.
What's the modification?
So I'm just inserting a 20 by 30 garage on the left side if you're facing the front of the building.
What was it?
So before it was just the building 40 by 30. So I'm trying to, instead of 3 stories, I'm actually gonna do a half height basement and then a single car garage, 20 by 30.
What was, actually, I can see it here.
I guess.
Here's the original.
Yeah.
The driveway was coming into the front of the building.
Yep.
Which is the plan that we've approved with this file?
Right there.
That's the one.
Yep.
And now the plan you want us to approve is the one down below,
Yes.
but it doesn't have any of the plantings that plan has. That the original plan has that we approved.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, I can either add them to him or I mean, I still intend to do all these plantings. It's,
Well, they gotta be shown on the plan.
yeah.
So the driveway would no longer be in the front left. It would
It's
be
still in the front, just
right.
shifted.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just to the other side of the house.
Yep.
The footprint of the house,
It's the same.
same.
Yep. And it's shifted closer to the, I'm gonna go in for a variance to bring it 10 feet closer to the street. So moving it away from the resource.
Can you get those pictures side by side so we can look at them both together?
No, I can't, Jimmy. All right, so you were 20 feet off the street. Now you're looking to be 10 feet off the street.
Yep.
And the garage. So you're proposing a 20 by 30 garage to the side of the house.
Yeah.
Single story garage.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's just one day and then, there'll be something over it, like a.
Oh, the roof area is gonna be the same. Is there more impervious now, or what what
Yeah.
size was the garage before?
So there'll be more, it's an increase of 20 by 30.
So the driveway is 10 feet shorter. But you're adding a 20 by 30 garage. So you're losing 100 square feet off the driveway.
Mhm.
So it's what, 500 square feet more total space. 600 square foot garage minus 100-foot less driveway. So it's 500 square feet more of impervious area.
Mhm.
So the house is shifted to the left also,
Yeah, about 15 feet. Yeah.
because you were 15 feet off the property line before,
Yep.
and now you're 30 feet off.
Yeah, because there's like a bunch of rocks that were sitting along that edge, and it would have been super close to that, the existing, it's kind of like a ditch with a bunch of rocks in it. It's about 9 feet wide, and it would have been just too close to work. It would have left me with like about 5 to 6 feet of working space
But
between
because
the,
of that, more of the houses in the 25-foot no disturb.
Yeah, but if you move that house 15 feet to the left, aren't you getting right next to the BBW?
It looks like the deck has been removed.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the deck is-
Nilu, you should have written down what these changes are in comparison, so we don't have to do this.
Sorry. Yeah, I think I kind of emailed Elaine, but
you know, he did, hold on. And, you know, I sent the pictures, but I think I kept the email in the file. Hold on. Here it is. Well, it says, okay. So it says here, the change I'm adding is a 20 by 30 garage and reduced front setback of 10 feet compared to the original order of conditions. Actually, that's all there is.
You know, so that doesn't tell us the effect on the rest of the lot. That's just the changes that he wants to see.
It'd be good. to
This file is still active, right?
Yep.
Yes, this order of conditions is good till January 4th, 2024.
Okay.
yeah, I requested an extension.
So
How close is the corner of the house now to the BBW?
20 feet, it looks like. Right there.
Yeah, it's closer.
Or is it? The deck? I don't know if it is actually.
Well, he's got it 15 feet.
Well, the limit of work line was 15, 18, 20.
I can see off the corner of the house.
Yeah.
He's got 15 feet, but it's perpendicular to the property line.
This one is 15 on the side.
Go back down to the other one. So now he took it diagonally. No, he's still perpendicular. So how do you move further?
Yeah, so it's definitely a little closer. Yep.
He's closer to the street by 10 feet, Jim. So I'm actually not sure if he's closer in that corner where it says 20 feet right here.
Yeah. It says 15 there.
We've seen it 15.
Oh, I see the fifth. No, doesn't do any good for me to point.
Well, you can see my cursor, right?
Yeah, go to the right. There.
That's the 15 to the property line.
Yeah, from the property line to the corner of the house.
But we don't know this dimension right here. How close that point is.
It's at least, well, yeah.
Well, it's at least
It's less than 50. It's probably around 15 or less. If that is 15 and if that's the scale, that's not more than 15. If that's 20, right there,
Yeah, it's a lot less than that.
that's less. And that's 18, that's 15. That looks like to be like 15 or less. Now that corner of the deck there is certainly less than 15. That looks to be like 10 maybe, but so is the deck gone from the new proposed?
There's a smaller deck on the backside. Right.
The
So
new plan has to show all of that.
Right. Right, we
Okay.
need to see that.
All right. Sorry about that. But it's a definitely, you know, it's an elevated deck. Yeah. So
All right, so we get 500 square feet of additional impervious area. House is closer to the street. Smaller driveway, garage being added. So we need the plantings put on this plan. We need the deck shown on the plan.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Maybe if you could just itemize the major changes that we're talking about, so we don't miss anything. We pretty much know what they are now.
Right, but we want it listed out for the file. All right, so can you get all that done for the next?
Yep. So itemize, add the plantings
Show the deck.
and show the deck, yep. Will do.
All right, anything else from the commission? Any questions from the public? Okay, we'll see you in April 14th.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Elaine, any preference on the remaining items?
Quick question on 94 Butler Avenue. So I spoke with Rebecca this afternoon, and she said that she had spoken with Bill Renault, who said he was going to go forward with filing a notice of intent. And he said he'd spoken with Jim. And I just wondered, Jim, I know that I sent Bill Renault an email a couple of months ago about what you were looking for when the notice of intent was filed. I wondered if you had a chance to talk to him about that.
Did me and Rebecca talked to Bill? I can't remember what was said though. We talked about, he explained to us what he was going to do. He was going to pull the rubble and all that material that doesn't belong there up along the slope of the bank and get a clean edge. And I think, and they were just going to cap it with I don't know how much material he said he's going to cap it with. We're better off to get Bill in here and have him explain it to you.
Well, that's exactly what he said. He was just not going to do. He was just going to go forward with filing the notice of intent. So, all right. So
Okay, well,
suppose
either way, it'll work out because then everyone will be able to have their input.
Okay, so you're okay with him just filing the notice of intent?
What other choice would you do? What were the
No,
options?
I just didn't know if he was fully aware of what you were looking for. If he is, then we're fine. It was just a question on my part.
Well, would it matter if you waited two more weeks and let him come in? We can have him come in and explain it to the whole commission.
What is he filing a notice for?
For the capping of the, you know, where they were going to put the subdivision and where the asbestos was down in along the
Okay.
BBW. He
All
was
right, I
going
didn't realize-
he's going to clean out all that material and cap it. I can't remember if it was, I think he was putting a fabric over it or under it and then capping on top of that and planting on top of that, grass or something like that. Or we had mentioned having a few trees put in there as well.
So if I just resend the email that you gave me the points you wanted covered to him again and just said, make sure you cover these points in your notice of intent.
Well, do you have that email?
That ought to
handy?
work out, right?
Do you have that email handy that you could read to everyone?
No, it's back at the office. But I can send it to him and just say, make sure you cover these points during the notice of intent. And after that, I guess he becomes like anybody else who files a notice of intent. If things come up during the course of the hearing, there's a slight revision to the plans. So should I just resend the email and make sure that those points go into the filing?
It works for me. How about everyone else?
Okay,
Yeah.
Does everyone
All
feel the
right.
same way?
Yes.
okay. All right, that was all I had on that.
Okay, we have a few other items. Certificate of compliance for 50 New Salem.
Yeah, that one is a, that was a culvert that was installed last summer, fall, to improve drainage in that area. And the only thing that remained on that one was there was some debris left on the banks. So I went back last week. It seems to have been removed. There's still the stuff that always comes up over the winter on that street. But for the purposes of the certificate of compliance, I think it's okay. There is some erosion control there. However, I spoke to Dave D'Amico from Commonwealth Tank, who's planning to use that exact same area this spring to do some work out there, and he'd like to use the erosion control. And it doesn't seem much sense to take it down and then put it back up again. So we have that arrangement with him. Dave D'Amico will take everything down when he's done. So I would recommend a certificate of compliance.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I move to issue a certificate of compliance for 50 New Salem Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Jim,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Silvana,
Yes.
and I also vote yes.
Elaine, you gonna drop off the thing for signing it to Jim's house?
Yeah, I'll drop it off at Jim's house tomorrow.
All right. We have two other items.
Can we wait to sign it? Can we sign it on Wednesday at the site visit? Do you need it sooner than that, Elaine?
No, there's 21 days for this to go
Okay.
out, so there's plenty of time.
Jim actually has something else for us to sign at his house already, I think.
Oh, already? Okay.
Is that the 134 Greenwood Street?
Yes, I think so.
All right.
You dropped it off last Friday, I think, or?
Week, yeah.
You had that
No,
signed,
wait
Jim.
a minute. I got it signed and sent it back.
Yeah, that's all.
I
That's all
had
done,
Judy.
Bob.
Okay, all right, I didn't see that one.
No, you didn't see that one.
Okay, Rebecca probably processed it then. So I'll just check the file. So it's not 134 Greenwood Street.
No.
I don't know. There's nothing else outstanding that I've dropped off other than that.
Okay. All right, so yeah, you guys must have signed it last weekend or
We
something.
did, we did.
Okay,
And Jim, will you bring the new one that Elaine is gonna drop off on Wednesday?
Yeah, I could. Well, Elaine will drop it off and I'll bring it Wednesday.
That's great.
Yeah. You can come Friday night and get it.
Elaine, can you have, an invite sent out to all of us for that site walk?
Yeah.
6:30 on 6:30 on 3:30.
3:30, 6:30, and Stark Ave.
Right.
Send invite. Okay, I'll send that out tomorrow.
Thanks. All right, we still have two other items. We've got Clyde Court discussion on the conditions. And
Oh,
we-
you know what? Wait a second. Is the gentleman for 24 Old Nahat here? Is there anybody here from?
Yes, I am.
24 Okay,
Oh.
why don't we take this gentleman first because he's waiting.
Sure.
Okay, so I sent you photographs again via email, Bob, and you
Yes.
should have them in your email.
Yes, I
There
did
should
get
be
them.
6 of them. I think I sent 2 of 3 apiece.
Yes. Okay. All right, here's the first picture you had sent.
So that's kind of a panorama. It's a multiple stemmed tree, and I tried to get all parts of it. So if you do like the 3 at once, you should get an idea of what the tree looks. Yeah, and there's one a little bit further back. So it's got multiple stems on it, and I guess I should just let the property owner explain it for himself.
What I'm looking to do is the trunk way over to the right has a lot of dead wood on it. And there's every year there seems to be more dead pieces falling off and they're stuck up there. So what I want to do is take that whole trunk down before it falls on my neighbor's fence or it falls on one of my sheds. Right next to it is another trunk that I looked at more closely today. And up top, there seems to be a lot of green growth on it. So that part of it's getting old and dying off too. So that part, I'm thinking of taking that down also. What I would do is cut that down and then I would plant what I think is more appropriate in that area is a smaller tree, like a birch, that would get up to like 30 to 40 feet, whereas this one is 60 to 70 feet high.
So you had said taking the trunk or the entire tree? Like this trunk you had mentioned, I think, right here?
Yeah, that's the first one. That's where I started this whole proposition, was
So you're
to
looking
take that
to-
trunk down because there was a lot of dead wood on that trunk.
All right, so you're talking about pruning the tree, just taking this trunk, not the tree, or you're taking the tree?
The tree is a V, so the trunk on the right would come down
So
all the
this
way.
So this entire from
Yes.
here, this, okay,
Yes.
okay.
And then as I looked more closely at the tree, to the left of it, where that trunk becomes a V, there's a lot of green diseased growth that makes me concerned about that part of it in the near future becoming dead and having the same problem. So I think once the tree company's here, I would have them take down that tree. Behind it are other trees that I would leave alone.
All right, so you're talking this.
Yep, that trunk there.
Yep.
And then right directly to the left of that is another trunk.
This
Yep.
trunk.
And if you go a little lower, that's the trunk there that has that other V that has those 2 branches going up. So yeah, I would take those 2 down.
So how many trees are we looking at here? This and this are part of the same tree?
Yeah, when it goes into the ground, it's actually a V.
Okay.
And in the ground, it's one tree that branched off.
And then there's a tree here.
And that would be totally left alone. Although there's like 3 of them back there that would be left alone.
So 1, 2, 3.
Is there a BVW over there?
Pardon me?
Is there a BVW over there? That's across the.
There's a little stream about a foot wide that runs in back.
Okay.
Okay, here you go. So are we talking in this corner?
Over to the left, the larger grouping of trees.
Left?
But yeah,
Over
oh,
here.
yeah, right in that area. Those are the trees that we're talking about.
Elaine, where's the stream? Right, is this the stream right here?
No, the stream in between my property and that neighbor's, it was buried a long time ago. And the stream comes out of a pipe right underneath where the trees are.
Bob, this is opposite 109 Farm Street.
Yeah, okay.
We'd probably be able to see it. The stream itself in this picture is very tiny. If you go up and
Oh, yeah.
right past those trees down there.
Right
is
right
the
up
stream.
there. Yes, yeah, Jim, you're exactly right. It's right across. Yeah, the stream comes through here. It's piped and then it comes back out. All right, so we're talking trees in this location here.
Yes.
You know, those trees are a good source of drinking water. You're gonna take the trees down, then you're gonna have more water.
I plan to replace it with a birch tree that's supposed to grow to be like 30, 40 feet when it
Yeah.
matures.
But a mature tree like that can, I think it can drink, what, 100 gallons a day? Isn't that right?
Or hold 100 gallons, I think. Would be a better view.
And so the green that you see growing on that tree, that's not mold. That's I forget what they call it, but it doesn't harm the tree.
All right, so here's a different angle. Here's the 3 trees that are staying. Here's the tree, the fork.
Mhm.
So essentially what you're asking is to take this tree, this one tree with the 2 trunks down.
If you could go to the next picture, please.
Yep. Not that one.
Yep, this one. To your comment about the green growth not being a bad thing on the tree.
Mhm.
Then my next idea is to just take the trunk on the right, because that is the one with a lot of dead branches on it.
Yeah.
And then the second one, which is right to the left, take off this one branch that goes up to the right, but leave the rest of that tree in place and
So
just
this-
prune.
Yeah, so this branch right here?
Nope, what you're pointing to, that would be what I would take down, is that whole trunk.
This entire trunk.
Yep, that. And then right directly to the left of that is just take, yep, exactly what you're pointing on, is just that one branch, but leave the rest of that tree in place.
There's nothing left if you take that branch out.
Is this part of that tree too?
Yes, yes, that is part of that tree. That is what would be left.
I could see you taking out the one to the right. That one looks like it's a problem.
Elaine, have you been out there?
Yeah, I took the pictures.
Okay. What were your thoughts?
Well, to the right-hand side, where your cursor is now, that's clearly in trouble, that branch.
Yeah.
And then, so that would be coming out. And then I believe the next one is going to be limbed back. And then as it gets further to the left, those multi-trunks on the other side, they would be limbed as necessary, but would remain. Do I recall that correctly?
That's
I
not what
think
you
so.
just said.
Yeah, what he was just pointing at would stay. Yep, that would all be staying. Everything to the left would be staying.
And then everything to the right would be going.
Yes.
So when I seem to remember when we talked that some of it only needed to be limbed back. Has that's changed then?
No, that was the first idea I brought up when we started discussing this.
Yeah.
Now, to Jim's point about the green growth that I got concerned about on the tree not being a problem, that's when I'm going back to our original conversation and just limbing to the far right, coming down the dead wood, and just
Right.
limbing back the trunk to the left.
So taking,
Yeah.
just taking this.
When you say limbing back, are you cutting the tree at the base or are you just
No,
cutting
no.
branches?
Limbing back would just be that one branch on the trunk to the left.
That one that you're circling now?
Nope, that would be over to the left, the next limb. Yep, right there.
Okay, but is that really a limb or is that there's only the two branches up there. What would you take off?
That right below the cursor is a V in that trunk.
Is a what?
It's a V.
Right
So
here.
those two limbs are part of that one tree, that one big trunk.
So the V's right here.
Oh.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's a V.
So he's talking about
Yes.
cutting here
Yes,
and then cutting this portion of the tree down at the base,
yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
leaving everything to the left of my cursor.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I see. And the reason, not that it should make a difference to me, but the reason why is because they're not in good shape.
Correct, correct.
I mean, this definitely looks like it's not good.
It's only one branch though. All
Yeah.
trees.
Well, up higher, there's a lot of dead wood up there too.
Yeah, it looks like there's something going on here.
Yep. It's all over that side. There's some parts that are good, but there's a lot that's not good. I mean, you can, there's a few widow makers up there.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so the proposal is to take this down to the base
Yes,
and then take this at the V.
yes,
So actually, he's half the tree or whatever would still remain.
yes.
And he, so really he's not taking the tree down, he's taking portion of the tree down, but I don't know, any questions, comments?
And then we have to follow the tree policy and if you're gonna do replacement, yeah?
Well, I don't know, this is kind of a gray area, he's not taking the tree,
Ah, good point.
he's taking limbs. So I mean, if it wants to, plant a birch tree, I think that's great,
He did offer to do that.
yes. Anybody have any concerns or comments? So in this case, we would let him take this trunk down at the base and then this trunk at the V and also plant a birch tree somewhere in the general area as a replacement.
Okay, let's move on.
All right, so let's, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor? Jim,
Yes.
Silvana,
Yes.
Teresa,
yes.
and I also vote yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, any questions? Reach out to the office, get Elaine or Rebecca. All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Elaine, we still have
2 Clyde Court.
Yes.
So did we closed, I think we closed 2 Clyde Court, and the order of conditions was going to be voted on tonight. And Rebecca spoke with Brian McGrail, who said he had not had an opportunity to write up a deed restriction. And so he just recommended that we put a condition in the order that it would have to come in and be approved, maybe before the start of construction or something else. He said he just didn't have time to get to it.
We definitely closed, right? I'm trying to remember.
I'm looking through my notes here.
I'll check the minutes. I don't think you did. Because I think
Oh,
you
well, that would
want
make it that much easier.
because Teresa didn't want to close until you had the
Right.
Brian's
So we
write-up.
had it. Oh, well, that just makes it that much easier. We could just,
Like, I know my memory's not the best, but I don't remember closing.
you're right. As I'm looking at my notes here, I do not see that it closed, and I certainly would defer
didn't.
to these minutes.
Okay, well, that solves that one.
All right, so
We won't be discussing-
we'll roll it over until the 14th and Brian McGrail's documents.
Excellent. Different business. Do we know if Rebecca had a chance to talk to Steve Mayo about the article for the properties, conveying the properties?
The town warrant, yeah.
I don't know. She talked to him about the money for the open space plan, but she didn't mention if she mentioned the article. I know she was in a limited time and he wasn't in very much today, so they may not have.
Okay.
But she's in Tuesday, so I can talk to her about it then.
Yeah, we won't be meeting again till the 14th.
And it has to be done by the 1st.
We
Well,
may
they
have-
pushed the town meeting out another week, so the deadline might be extended.
All right, we may have to have a quick special meeting just to vote.
Did you make a decision on who you want to do the open space plan? Or is there any thought on that?
I have not even looked at the proposals yet, to be perfectly honest.
No, have I.
It's like, didn't we just meet yesterday? It was like, no,
days
2 days
ago.
ago.
Days ago, yeah.
It seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
Not that we don't like seeing each other.
Mhm.
I'll put it on my list to do this weekend.
So shall we roll that over to the 14th as well?
I mean, but it's gonna be too late, right, though?
Yeah.
Oh,
So if we can find out, if Rebecca does have a conversation with Steve regarding an article, we could have a special meeting to have a vote on that. Whatever, next Thursday or something, if we had to. Otherwise, we're gonna miss the opportunity until next, go around.
Until the fall.
Yeah.
all right. So I will talk to Rebecca and She needs to do what? See if she can get the money from Steve? To do
No.
what is it?
The article.
The article, if we could have an article for town meeting to convey all those parcels to conservation. The town owned, the tax title parcels,
And she has a list of those parcels.
yeah.
All right, so,
Town council.
so, okay. So if she gets the okay from Steve Mayo,
She was
then
gonna
who
find
writes
out-
up the article?
She was gonna find out from Steve Mayo if he thought it would fly if we did all of the parcels.
Right, all or only like town forest was, I guess, the question. Rebecca was feeling like we should go after all of them. And we weren't sure if that was just biting off too much at one time. And she was gonna
Okay.
talk to Steve Mayo about his opinion.
She knows what you said she was gonna do, I think, Elaine, I know. Right.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to catch up.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll talk to her tomorrow and I'll tell her, and I'm sure she'll get back to you all.
And like I said, if we need to get together next Thursday for whatever, 15 minutes or whatever, we could make that happen. I'm sure we can get four of us
Okay.
together. Right, any other business, Elaine?
Just a quick question.
You
Let
know,
me just-
can I just say one thing, though? If you do this article, don't forget someone has to defend this thing at town meeting. And you need to know everything about all these parcels to make sense. And I'm sure people are gonna ask you
Yeah.
about the properties of each parcel and why we're doing it there and why we're not doing it. And so I don't think you have enough time to get that ready and be prepared to present it. That's my own opinion.
Good point.
Whether it's been tax title since pretty much the 40s, I don't see how there could be a big pushback on it.
I think you're optimistic.
So
No, I think
Rebecca
it gets pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. We've talked about it for a couple of decades now. So if you push
So-
it back to November, then is it going to get done then?
I
Well,
have a
if someone will go forward with it, it's gonna get done. It just doesn't get done because no one does anything about it. But it doesn't mean you rush it through unprepared for what you gotta face.
I'm not saying rushing it through, but we talk about it, talk about it, talk about it.
Yeah, I know that.
So I have a question. If Rebecca probably is the one who's most knowledgeable about these parcels. So I would talk to Rebecca, if it works out on that level. So I would say to Rebecca that what you said, Jim, that somebody should be knowledgeable enough to stand before town meeting and discuss each one of those parcels, and ask Rebecca if she would be the person who would do that. Would that be acceptable to everybody else? She certainly has more knowledge than anyone else.
It should come from someone on the commission, though. It shouldn't,
We don't have that.
Nobody on the
No,
commission
yeah.
knows it like she does, though.
all right. I don't think that's the way to, I think that,
But who else would know it the way Rebecca would know it?
but I don't think Rebecca has any special inside knowledge about it. They're all tax title. It's the emerald necklace that Paul Revis talked about 20 years ago. I don't know what there is. People aren't going to pick, some random lot to say, well, what do you need this lot for?
So maybe, so who would do it then? If that's the case,
It would
look at
have
it
to
from
be
that
someone on the
point of
commission.
view.
I mean, if the commission is putting the article forward, then it should be someone on the commission.
So if it were presented as the emerald necklace, we would need a volunteer from the commission to speak before town meeting. Maybe we should
Yes.
select that person now.
Jimmy gets a big box.
Just see what Rebecca comes up with and then decide what you want to do.
All right, so I will tell Rebecca that she really should talk to Steve Mayer right away. And what's the deadline for putting an article before town meeting?
I don't know, because they can change it. They can take them whenever they feel like, it seems. And they just pushed out the date, so I don't know what the deadline is for this one. It's
Okay.
not until May
All
16th.
right. So I tell you what, I'll tell Rebecca to talk to Steve, tell her what we talked about this evening, and then I'll have her give you a call, Jim. Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe she could find out what the deadline is.
Yeah, okay.
I do think we might ask where are these parcels? And unless we have a map showing where the parcels are.
Well, yeah, they'd have to be.
Yeah, we need that. We have
the
that, though.
presentation,
Rebecca's got
which
that.
we have, yeah.
And so if I can understand, these parcels, people have been notified, like abutters and all that, and nobody's come forward. So this is why we have this opportunity.
They don't have to be notified.
Yeah.
They're held in tax title.
Okay.
So the town already owns them.
Owns them.
I know, but what, I don't know. It's a great idea, but at the same time, I don't want to come back and bite us and say, no, my great grandfather, I just found out that my great grandfather owned it and whatever,
Oh, no, that can't.
Or you're
happen.
gonna build a trail through the middle of it.
It's too late. Sylvana.
Oh, really? Okay,
No,
all right.
No
Okay.
no one has the right to claim title to those. No, there's no issue there.
Okay. I'm still learning, so this is why I'm asking. Okay.
Yeah, but to Paul's point, there will be those who will be concerned that there's now a pipeline of traffic going through their backyard.
Right, but that's why I think the trail issue isn't the issue that should be brought up, that it's going to be a trail system.
Well, no, but that'll
Not,
be.
not the- what we're gonna bring up, it's what.
No,
they're
it is,
gonna-
it shouldn't be what the commission brings up. That's
No,
my.
we're not
No.
going to. Paul is saying we're not going to. Other people are there.
Well, it's-
Right. And
I say you go look at our old open space plan and it tells you what people wanted. And
I did that.
I know you did that, but I'm saying other people could do that. Because in there, it does say that most people wanted to save this property
Yes.
for whatever reason.
As
Because
long as
this-
it's not in their backyard.
I know, that's what you have to deal with.
But you, all right, fine. You just keep talking about it, and it just gets
No,
old.
we want to present an article. Again, I don't think we should be going for all of it. That's my opinion. I would go after town forest first and then see how that goes. And then keep moving on from there. That would be the way I would approach it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we can vote on that after we hear back from Rebecca.
Right.
We can vote on how we want to proceed.
Yeah.
We'll get some feedback from her and Steve and just see what the feeling is.
I concur.
Okay, any other business, old or new?
I just have one question. I got an email in today about 109 Farm Street. And it was a question, as you may recall, it was an after the fact filing, swimming pool's already in. And they had a request about the, excuse me, certificate of compliance, the order of conditions references, an as-built plan. She wanted to know, she being the, not the property owner, but the woman from, I think it's LEC, wanted to know if she could do measurements off the existing plan with regards to the plantings, rather than an as-built plan, considering the pool's already in.
Well, we let her do that for the stream location, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think we
don't
did.
remember.
I think we just,
Okay, so what should I tell her?
might as well do the same thing.
Yeah, she went off the foundation of the house, I think. Is that what she did?
Okay, so she doesn't need an engineered stamped as-built plan. She can take the measurements.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's not like it's an estate that's got 50 lots to it, you know. It's just
Okay.
it's one house lot.
Okay, I'll tell her. I do not have anything else.
Thank God.
I was gonna say, that's good, yeah.
Oh, hang on, Judy, what do you have?
No, I'm all set.
Wow.
She's disgusted with us.
I am disgusted.
Hey, we are all for an article and we still might be able to get one going.
All right.
All right, Bruins won, Judy, so,
Yep, Pastor had a hat trick.
yep. All right, anything else?
See you Wednesday.
All right, so
Friday.
somebody,
Friday.
hang on, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
All right, I move to adjourn.
Second,
I'll second it.
any discussion?
No,
All in favor? Savannah,
yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Peter, Peter, Jimmy, he's not here. Jimmy,
Yes.
okay, I also vote to adjourn and we'll talk to everybody on Wednesday night.